You're in a 4-minute break. Three minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Three minutes remaining. Two minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Two minutes remaining. One minute, 30 seconds remaining. One minute remaining. Forty-five seconds remaining. Thirty seconds remaining. Fifteen seconds. Break ends in 5 seconds. You're in a 4-minute break. Three minutes remaining. Two minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Two minutes remaining. One minute, 30 seconds remaining. One minute remaining. "45 seconds remaining. "30 seconds remaining. "15 seconds. Break ends in 5 seconds.
To infinity and beyond.
He's live. He's nationwide. This is the Zach Gelb Show. Here's your host, Zach Gelb.
Live from the palatial yet not overly ostentatious studios of the Infinity Sports Network here in beautiful Baltimore. We have made it USAA Army Navy Radio Row. We always love coming to this event each and every year, one of the best events that they do put on in the sports world. We appreciate you listening to us on this Football Friday across all the great local Infinity Sports Network affiliates, Sirius XM, Channel 375, the free Odyssey app, the iHeartRadio app, and also streaming live on YouTube. 888-710-4ISN is the number to jump on in, 888-710-4476. You could always get at me on Instagram, where I'm straight flexing, or via the good old cesspool of Twitter, X, at Zach Gelb. That is ZACHGELB, or you can follow me on TikTok at The Zach Gelb Show. We have a whole lot to do today. We are here live until 6 p.m. Eastern Time. Heisman Trophy winner RG3 is going to join us on set coming up in 20 minutes from now. Chris Doering, the former Florida wide receiver, now does a great job at SiriusXM, SEC Network. He's going to stop by at 4 o'clock p.m. Eastern Time. And Agar will join us at 4:20 p.m. Eastern Time. Just saw Brian Jones is in the building. He's going to join us at 5 p.m. Eastern Time. And I'm just going to try not to get assaulted by one Brian Jones, because I may or may not have screamed out to him horns down, since he is a former football player with the Longhorns at UT. And he wasn't too happy with me, so we'll see if he'll still join us at 5 p.m. Eastern Time. And the commissioner of the American Conference, Tim Pernetti, will join us at 5:20. So a whole lot to do today. We appreciate everyone getting us on out here. Once again, USAA, Army, Navy, Radio Row. I'm wearing my American flag suit jacket, which I guess has become a staple of this event, because I've had 4 other talk show hosts come up to me and they were saying, we're wondering if Zach's going to be here. We're going to be wondering if Zach is going to be wearing the signature jacket. Last year, I did the full bodysuit. So what you saw up top matched what happened down low, and I did wear the American flag pants. This year, I did not go with the American flag pants. I just went with the black jeans. But there's a whole lot to do today, and let's start it off. I'll get to the Bucs and the Bucs blowing it last night to the Atlanta Falcons. That division, Carolina could do a very nice job this weekend if they beat the Saints. And you know that the the Panthers and the Bucs still going to face each other 2 times in the final 3 weeks of the season. So that division is far from over. But what a putrid performance last night at the end of the game by the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. You know, I remember I was watching in the hotel when we got down here after the show last night, and it was at one point 3rd and 26 or 3rd and 28, and then it's 4th and 13 or 4th and 16, whatever it was, and how the fact that you couldn't get the Tampa Bay defense off the field was just, I was incredulous just watching it. And it's not like I despise the Atlanta Falcons. I like Bijan Robinson. You know, I like Kyle Pitts, Kirk Cousins. You like that, you know, all that jazz. But Raheem Morris, I just don't think he should be the head football coach. And he celebrated like he won a Super Bowl when they beat the Buffalo Bills. They've been dog crap ever since, and he gets rewarded last night when Tampa Bay just absolutely blew it. So you're starting to see storylines develop in the NFL. Like earlier in the season, we had people talking about Tampa Bay maybe going to a Super Bowl. You had people talking about the Indianapolis Colts potentially going to a Super Bowl. And you look around now as we're in Week 15, and the Colts may not make the playoffs. Right? They may not be a wild card team. They got old man Rivers, Phillip Rivers, starting for them probably coming up this weekend. And then you also have the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, who may not win the NFC South. So this has been a year in the NFL where it's wide open. This has been a year in the NFL where I don't know if you need to be a great team to win a championship. Usually we sit there and we say, hey, you win a championship, you're a great team. You win a championship, obviously you get remembered. Is there a great team right now in the NFL? Is there? You know, maybe you could argue the Rams. We just saw the Rams 2 weeks ago lose to the Carolina Panthers, who somehow may win the division. You going to tell me the Seahawks are a great team? Don't get me wrong, Jackson Smith and Jigba, he's the best wide receiver in football right now. That defense, especially that front four for the Seattle Seahawks, is unbelievable. But are you really believing in Sam Darnold in a big game? Sam Darnold's a good quarterback, but is he a great quarterback? I'm not going to sit there and say that. It doesn't look like the Chiefs are going to make the playoffs. Even if the Ravens get in or the Steelers get in, both those teams are limping in. I don't believe in either one of those teams with their playoff shortcomings. Are you going to tell me the Chargers are going to a Super Bowl? No, they'd be lucky to win one playoff game. You know, the Broncos and the Patriots. I'm a Patriot fan. Right? The Broncos, they both have 2 10-game win streaks. Is anyone going to sit there and adamantly say both those teams are going to the Super Bowl? And for Buffalo, sure, it looks like their kryptonite in the Kansas City Chiefs aren't going to be in the postseason, but Buffalo still has to conquer those demons, and they still have to get to the top of the mountain and scream out victory. So I look at this right now, and when I'm evaluating the NFL, what you saw last night is kind of a microcosm of the season. If you start to buy into a team, if you start to believe in a team, if you start to say, okay, this team's going to win a game, the other shoe drops. And that's what happened last night with Tampa Bay. There is no way they should have lost that game to the Atlanta Falcons. No way. And they ended up losing the game. And now Tampa Bay, which they could still go on and win the division, there's a chance and a realistic chance that they don't make the postseason. So who's the team in the NFL that you really believe in? Like, you to tell me it's the Packers? I've seen them lose this year to the Browns and the Panthers. Anyone you go to in the NFL, I could give you a reason why they won't win it this year. Someone's going to have to win it, but it doesn't mean that you're a great team this year if you're going to win it. And it kind of reminds me last year in college football, where last year in college football, I never thought there was truly a great team in the regular season. You know, even Ohio State, they lost to Michigan last year. 13-10. And then they finally woke up and said, we're going to go play football. And they smothered Tennessee in the playoff game, and then boom, they took off. Was Ohio State one of those teams last year in college football that you're going to remember and you're going to say, that's one of the more iconic teams of all time? You're going to, refer to them as LSU and with Miami and some of those other legendary teams? No, you're not. You're not. So whoever wins it this year in the NFL, it's going to be special. But right now, and this is what makes it so much fun, you sit there, you're in week 15 of the season, and whether it's the Patriots, the Bills, the Steelers, the Ravens, the Texans, the Colts, whoever, the Jaguars, the Chargers, the Broncos, the Chiefs, the Eagles, the Cowboys, the Lions, the Packers, the Bears. You just go through this. In the South, is it the Panthers? Is it the Bucs? Out West, the Rams and the Seahawks. There's truly no great team in the NFL. Like, if you said to me, Zach, gun to your head, who's the best team in the NFL right now? I would probably say the team I'll believe in the most to win the Super Bowl, because they've done it recently, are the LA Rams. But do I have great confidence that the Rams, let's say they get the bye, that they're going to win both their playoff games to get to the Super Bowl? No. Because every team this year in the NFL, just when you buy in, they end up showing you their flaws. They end up making you say, maybe I need to disagree. Okay. Still the biggest story right now is actually Sharon Moore. And I know I started the week saying I really don't have any sympathy for Sharon Moore. And, it's an ugly situation. I feel bad for his wife. I feel bad for their 3 kids. Now, Sharon Moore did this to himself. Sharon Moore, let's just be real, cheated on his wife, got in a relationship that he should not have been in with a staff member. But what has transpired really in this last week, it is ugly. And I will say, the photo today while Sharon Moore was getting arraigned, that's the first time where I kind of looked at that and I just said, wow, this is surreal. The story is just crazy. When we were on the air on, Wednesday, and we found out he got fired. And then we get off the air, and you found out that he was getting detained, and then he got arrested. But to see him today getting arraigned, sitting in a jail cell or a holding center in the jumpsuit, he looks like he's lost 20 pounds. He looked horrible. And you see some of the details that come out. This is one ugly and just scary and unfortunate situation. Sure, it doesn't excuse the act of what Sharon Moore did. In terms of Sharon Moore being a college football coach at a top 5 job in America, Sharon Moore cheating on his wife allegedly, right, having a relationship with the staff member, and then obviously the day of reckoning that did occur on Wednesday where he got fired, then allegedly went to her house, threatened to kill her, threatened to kill himself, and then obviously got arrested. Sharon Moore does not get excuses. He does not get a pass. And quite frankly, his football life is over. His coaching life is over. Some people, they go through these terrible situations and they find a way to get back involved in the sport. I don't see how Sharon Moore is ever going to be coaching again in college football or in any level of football. But to be honest, right now, the story is much bigger than that. And I understand what he did and allegedly did was disgusting. It was wrong. And the aftermath and the way that he handled it, there is no defense of it. But right now, even though I will think about his wife first, I will think about his children first, there is a part of you that says, really, Sharon Moore's got to figure out his personal life first. And if he doesn't figure out his personal life, then you can't even get to what is next in the professional world. But seeing that photo today, when you found out that Sharon Moore has been charged with third-degree home invasion, stalking and breaking and entering or entering without breaking, and Moore was detained by police in Saline, Michigan, hours after he was fired for cause by Michigan after the school said it had found evidence of an inappropriate relationship with the staffer. That was all from Yahoo Sports. But seeing the photo today of him, right, in the cell, in the white jumpsuit, in handcuffs, and just looking lost, looking stunned, looking confused, looking like he's just been through it, it is wild that 2 weeks ago, this was a guy that saw his football team right out of the gate kick a field goal, then get an interception, kick another field goal, was up 6-0 up against Ohio State. And maybe, in that moment, everyone's thinking it, even Ryan Day, like, uh-oh, here you go again. Here comes Ryan Day again up against Ohio State. Then they get smothered in the second half. You then have, after the game, Ryan Day and Sharon Moore trying to figure out how they're going to get both these teams off the field because they wanted to kill each other. And then after that, even for this bowl game, I think it's a Citrus Bowl, right? You have Michigan and Texas. He was at a press conference on Sunday night. And you go from Sunday night, even with all the rumors, even with everything that was heard, right? Tim Brando talking about how, he heard rumors about the Sharon Moore situation on Monday. People saying this is the worst kept secret. The report yesterday that the AD Ward Manuel was told that he's going through some mental health issues, and Sharon Moore somehow got fired with no security around or no other staff members around besides Ward Manuel. And to just see what has happened from a guy where a year ago, when we were at USA Army Navy Radio Row, we're talking about Michigan putting lipstick on a pig, right? That's what we're talking about. All right, they beat Ohio State to end the season. They did go on to beat Alabama. They get Bryce Underwood, and then you fast forward to where we are a year later, and I don't think Sharon Moore was all that good of a head football coach, let's be clear. I thought he was going to get fired anyway, next year. But you see where we're at right now, where the situation is he's fired, he's arrested, and he threatened to kill the staff member and himself, and he was sleeping with the staff member. It is just one of the more wild, surreal, bizarre stories that you're ever going to see. This is from News Nation, quote, "My blood is on your hands," former Michigan coach Sharon Moore told a woman after she broke up with him on Monday, according to the Washtenaw County prosecutor. The prosecutor says after the victim told the school about the relationship they had for a number of years, Moore barged into her apartment and threatened his own life with scissors and knives. Chris Vanini, prosecutors in court say Sharon Moore went to the woman's house, grabbed several butter knives and a pair of kitchen scissors, and began to threaten his own life. "I'm going to kill myself. I'm going to make you watch. My blood is on your hands. You ruined my life." That was the quotes that were said today in court. That's what was relayed from the attorneys. Think about that, folks. It is a wild, surreal, bizarre story. And this guy, just as of Wednesday morning, was a football coach. And I guess as the details go and more of the story comes out, and there's going to be tons of documentaries just on Sharon Moore, on honestly the last 5 years of Michigan football. I made the joke yesterday. It wasn't a joke, but I made it yesterday that like the 30 for 30 is definitely going to be called Michigan Man. And you're going to have, the Stallion stuff. You're going to have winning a national championship. You're going to have the fallout with Sharon Moore. You can't even write this script what happened. You really can't. But the fact that this stuff did happen is wild. And, the staffer denied it at first when I guess the university started their investigation. Sharon Moore denied it at first. What was the line? No way, no how. And then I guess they were involved in a relationship for this long, and either she was trying to end it, and it led to this point where on Wednesday she officially told him, like, this is over, and they were stalking, and you heard it on the 911 calls and all this stuff, and it ends with him allegedly going to her house with knives, right, and scissors, and saying, he's going to kill himself, and he's going to kill her, and you're going to have to watch the blood that's going to be in my hands. It is just such a wild story, and it really hit me today. Because, right, we were on the air live when it happened, and then you process it a little bit. But then when you see an image is so powerful. And when the image was being, thrown all over Twitter today and X today of him in the jumpsuit in the cell, you're almost saying to yourself, that doesn't even look like Sharon Moore. But it is Sharon Moore. And that's the reality of the situation. So now we'll see what's next for Michigan. People are going to throw out the name Kalen DeBoer. As I sit here today on the 12th day of December in the year of 2025, I don't think Kalen DeBoer is going to be the next head football coach of the Michigan Wolverines. I don't. Could it be Kenny Dillingham? Could it be Jed Fish? Right? You'll go through all these names. This is still a top 5 job in America. Like, look, Penn State got ugly in the last 50 days. Penn State still got a heck of a football coach in Matt Campbell. LSU had an ugly departure of Brian Kelly. They still got Lane Kiffin. Michigan will make what I would have to think is a big name hire. But you get this Sharon Moore story, more will come out of it. But right now, you get a lot of the details today And then from a football standpoint, it's about finding out who the next head football coach is going to be. But how this Sharon Moore story ended, I just thought it was going to be he wasn't going to be that good next year and he was going to get fired. For it to end the way that it did, it is just bizarre and it's wild. All right, we're here live in the Convention Center in Baltimore. Zach Gelb here with you, USA Army Navy Radio Row. It's pretty cool, our setup. We just saw the planes fly over us, like how you have the flyover with the stadium. I'm looking out some windows. I see Camden Yards to my right, M&T Bank Stadium also to my right. That is where the Orioles play, and then the next stadium is where the Ravens play. And I guess at 4 p.m. Eastern time, and this is just really just torturing me today, the stadium right across the street from us, from where we're broadcasting in this beautiful convention center, Pete Alonso is going to get introduced as the newest member of the Baltimore Orioles. So Pete better not see me on the streets tonight. If the polar bear sees me on the streets tonight, he may want to walk the other way because I am not I'm not annoyed at Pete, if I'm just being honest. I'm annoyed with the New York Mets. Steve Cohen and David Stearns, what are we doing? What a disaster. Zach Gelb here with you, USA Army Navy Radio Row. Jack Carty back in the studio along with Michael Samter. And Stu Kovacs is here. Stu's doing 3,000 jobs today, but he's always working hard as Stu does. Stu had some hummus and crackers, I think, as well. Big lunch today for you, Stu.
A little hummus and crackers, a little snack to hold me over, if you will.
And by the way, Stu is dressed up very nicely today. Dress
Thank you.
pants, nice dress shirt. You got the dress shoes on. So Stu's looking like $1 million today.
I appreciate
that. You look like you're going on a job interview.
Well,
17 after the hour. Zach Gelb with you on the Infinity Sports Network. RG3, the Heisman Trophy winner, Robert Griffin III, will join us next.
You're in a 5-minute break. Four minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Four minutes remaining. Three minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Three minutes remaining. Two minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Two minutes remaining. 1 minute, 30 seconds remaining. One minute remaining. "45 seconds remaining. "30 seconds remaining. "15 seconds. Break ends in 5 seconds.
This is the Zach Gelb Show.
Alrighty, welcome back in USA Army Navy Radio Row. We are in Baltimore. It is the Zach Gelb Show, coast to coast on the Infinity Sports Network. And now joining us, he's not a cowboy. Maybe he is now, but he is a Heisman Trophy winner, and that is RG3. You know, I saw you wearing the cowboy hat in the podcast, and I said, I know we're having him on the show. I wonder if he's going to come on in with the cowboy hat on.
Yes,
You did.
have to. And I've gotten some flack from the Commanders fans who are like, why are you wearing a cowboy hat? I was like, listen, people, I'm from Texas, okay? You know, I'm a black cowboy in certain respects. I grew up in the countryside, so fully leaning in, enjoying the cowboy hats, and it's been a lot of fun.
I know that it's a new version, right, of the Commanders.
Yeah.
But with that being said, it's amazing to me. I know he's out this weekend,
Yeah.
but they haven't ruled him out for the season. Jaden Daniels should not take another snap this year for the
100%,
Commanders.
Zach. I mean, you're spot on. He should be done for the rest of the season. Shut him down. He's had too many injuries this year. And it's not just that. They're not playing for anything but pride now. They're out of the playoffs. He's had a hamstring injury, a knee injury. He's dislocated his elbow, which was so gruesome that everyone saw, and then re-injured it the first game he came back. I know all players want to play. Zach, I've been there. I've done everything to get on the field and be on the field for my brothers, and that's the same way that Jaden Daniels is wired. He's wired in a way that he's a warrior. He's never going to say, I'm tapping out. So as a team, you have to take the matters into your own hands, sit him down and say, hey, this is why we're going to shut you down for the year. Because it's not like normally when guys get hurt and you're the starting quarterback, it's to give hope to the rest of the team. Hey, he's not done yet. He's going to come back. It's like at this point in the season, there is no hope of him coming back and then making the playoffs. So protect him from himself. Sit him down for the rest of the year, allow him to get healthy, and then go get some better weapons around him and a younger defense so you can go back and have another NFC championship run or Super Bowl run as a team. I want to see Jaden Daniels be the quarterback for the next 10, 15, 20 years. I could give a crap if he plays next Sunday.
Here's the other thing, too. So, obviously, you both won Heisman trophies.
Yep.
You guys both had incredible rookie seasons.
Yep.
Now, you had to deal with your injuries. He had to deal with his injuries.
Correct.
The comparisons are just there. It gets talked about.
Right.
You know, he's tired of hearing about it. Like, oh, you're the next RG3 and all that stuff. Yeah. How do you take it when you get compared to him?
I just think that it's low-hanging fruit in the sense of what you just mentioned. Here's the similarities, right? Black quarterback, Heisman Trophy winner, number 2 pick in the draft, amazing rookie year, bad year, second year in the NFL. Those are the comparisons. Everybody, well, that's a lot of comparisons, RG. It's like, I get it. But when you talk about dealing with the injuries, it's a completely different regime, completely different organization. New ownership, new head coach, new offensive coordinator. You're bringing when he came in last year, he had so much more veteran leadership that had no affiliation with the organization beforehand, so they didn't know what it was like, and they didn't know what the infighting was like between the owner and the head coach, something that I wasn't aware of when I first got there. So to me, that makes a massive difference, because the environment that he is living in is a much healthier environment than the environment that we had back in 2012, 2013 as the Washington Redskins. So I think that's why the difference is so different. I think this organization has his best interest at heart. I think that at this point, they're fighting the comparisons instead of doing what's best for Jaden Daniels. And that goes to everyone in his circle. Like, don't try to fight the comparisons. Don't worry about the comparisons. Focus on the young man and allow him to do what he needs to do to be the best player that he can be, not to be the best player that he can be, to not be RG3. Because if I had stayed healthy and we had a better environment, we wouldn't be having this conversation. Jaden Daniels would have been drafted somewhere else.
You may
I'd still be playing.
Yeah.
But the bottom line is I want him to still be playing 10, 15 years from now for the Washington Commanders. That should be the focus, not anything else.
RG3 here with us. So I thought the coaching carousel was over. Then obviously the Sharon Moore situation happened.
Oh my
and now
gosh.
a top 5 job in the country is available.
Yeah.
Let me start off with, I guess, the low-hanging fruit, Kalen DeBoer.
Yep.
It's a fit. It would make a ton of sense. If he beats Oklahoma, though, I don't see how you're leaving Tuscaloosa. And I don't know even if they lose to Oklahoma. Sure, fans may want to run him out, but I don't think the university's going to want to run him out.
Yeah, I don't know why you'd want to run him out. I get it. Like, whenever there's a change in leadership, and you've probably experienced this at some point in your life, when you go from Nick Saban, who is the in-your-face, grill-ya, Southern personality, to Kalen DeBoer, who's a lot more of a gentle leader, a passive leader in that regard, that's what happens. There's an adjustment period between what the fans feel, what the players feel, how the media feels about it. But that doesn't mean that Kalen DeBoer is not a great coach. He's a great coach. He's won everywhere he's been, and Alabama should be grateful that he's their head coach. Yeah, I'm talking about your Bama's, my guy, Mark Ingram right here. So I could understand why Michigan would want to go after him. Michigan is not a stepping stone job. Right? Yeah. So they can go after anyone they want to, whether they sign an extension or not. I don't think that Kalen DeBoer is the guy for that university, because he is fully committed to being the one that can replace Nick Saban and win a national title. So I just don't think that he would take that leap of faith, even if some people want to kick him out.
And when we were on the air 2 days ago and the news came down, and then a lot more obviously came out with the story, more than anyone could have imagined, I went from Jesse Minter, and then it's like, oh, he's got a show clause, and maybe you want to get away from the Jim Harbaugh stuff. And then immediately I said Kenny Dillingham. Do you think Kenny Dillingham would be interested in leaving his school, Arizona State, to go to Michigan?
That's the I did see some Kenny Dillingham stuff today, and I love Kenny Dillingham as a coach. I think he's real, he's honest. The media loves him because he's really an open book. Yeah. And he does right by his players. But whenever I see a coach do a press conference and they say, "This is home. This is where I've always wanted to be," that guy can't leave. Like, because now if you leave, what are you going to go say at Michigan? Are you going to say, "This is home.
This is my mobile home"?
So I think from that standpoint, the way that he has positioned himself at Arizona State, he's like, this is a forever job. This is where I always want to be. So now it would be very disingenuous for him to leave and go to Michigan. The Jesse Minter thing is something that I also thought of, but I do think the university wants to get as far away from Harbaugh and Sharon Moore as they possibly can. So I'm not sure that would happen. But they're stuck between a rock and a hard place, similar to what Penn State was last week before they went and got Campbell from Iowa State.
Here's the thing. When we get into this RG3 here with us, USA, Army, Navy, Radio Row, when we get into this Michigan job, if it's not Kenny Dillingham, if it's not Kalen DeBoer, it's so late in the process. I know a lot of people are going to be considering maybe leaving their current jobs, and you may get a guy that just signed an extension like a Clark Lee or an Eli Drinkwitz that say, yeah, this is home, all that stuff. Hey, Nick Saban once said he was never going to be the head coach at Alabama. Ended up being the head coach at Alabama. So that's a fascinating wrinkle in this whole thing on who's going to become the next coach.
I think they have to go outside the box. I know that initially they will try to go pluck a coach from somewhere else and say, we're Michigan, you should come coach us. But in this world of different things that are happening, Zach, I would see an alum of the university, being someone that can be the figurehead, that has great coaches around him, offensive coordinator, defensive coordinator, that can run those systems by themselves, and this guy can be able to recruit. Because that is the most important thing right now to me from a head coach in college football. You have to be able to recruit. Can I sit in that room with the parents and the athlete and say, you should come to Michigan? And they're going to be like, hell yeah, I should go to Michigan. And to me, right now, one of those alums has to be Charles Woodson.
Wow.
And listen, I'm colleagues with Charles at Fox Sports, and I would say Charles Woodson would be a great candidate because he's a great leader of men. If Charles Woodson, Heisman Trophy winner, comes and sits down in your living room and says, your son should come to Michigan, who is telling him no? You can go and get the coaches with the accolades and that have the experience, and guess what? They can be his offensive and defensive coordinators, and they can be the assistant to the head coach, but there's not going to be a better guy to recruit players to Michigan than a guy who won and did it at the highest level at Michigan. He's still recognizable today, and I see him on TV, great personality. He's got a great feel for what the game needs and what a coach needs to be. If I'm Michigan, I take that leap of faith if I can't go get an established coach to leave one of these bigger universities.
So can I throw your name in the running next year to be the next Baylor head coach?
Listen, I love Baylor.
Yeah.
And I love Dave Aranda. He's been great to me. So out of respect for him, I would not start those conversations unless something was to happen.
Gotcha.
So I'm not
Would
going to.
you be interested in coaching, though?
I am. I am interested in coaching. You know, I've done some things with overtime in OT7 last year and got a feel for, you know, the younger generation and how they need to be coached.
Mm-hmm.
Coaching is certainly something that I would love to do. I actually turned down the Sacramento State job last year. Went through the entire interview process. Didn't make that public at the time out of respect for Mr. Go-Go Offense himself, who ended up getting the job. I didn't want people to feel like I was trying to rain on that parade. But I went through that interview process, was offered the job, and turned it down. I just didn't feel like it was the right fit for me. But I am certainly interested in coaching and would love to do it.
You know, I told Aranda once when they won the Big 12 championship, you got to smile a little bit. You have too much resting coach face. You know, he looked miserable on the sideline. He did, and they just won the Big 12 championship. But he's a nice guy. It just, once people are out on you in college, it's tough for them to get back in. And even if they get back in, like Neil Brown at West Virginia, then the next year they're out. It seems, unfortunately, because he is a nice guy, that this will probably be his last year at Baylor.
I don't know if it'll be his last year, but I do think it's fair to say that when the fans are out on a guy, or when the players start to defect and go other places, that's when it's the hardest to get people to come back in. If there was a guy that could do it because of how cerebral he is, and I think he is going to try to be more adaptable this year, he could do it, but 7-5 is not going to keep him around, I believe, next year. He's going to have Baylor be in the running for a Big 12 championship for them to extend their jobs there at Baylor, and I think that's just the honest assessment. Like I said, I love Coach Aranda. He's been great to me. I respect the heck out of him, and as an alum and a guy that he has trusted, I couldn't come on here in good faith and say, yeah, next year is going to be his last year. I understand the fans are frustrated. I'm not carrying water for anybody in that regard. Linda Livingstone, the president of the university, made the decision that she made. And I think at this point for Baylor fans, you just have to understand that he's not going anywhere for this year. Let's make the most of it and get behind the players and try to help them push forward. Also knowing that if it doesn't work out, they'll get their wish. They'll get what they want, and we'll be starting over in the following year, and then we can have those discussions on who should be the head coach.
Last one for you, RG3, here on behalf of USA Army Navy Radio Row. We're live in Baltimore. So the Heisman's going to be handed out on Saturday night. Obviously, you won a Heisman Trophy.
Yep.
Fernando Mendoza expected to win the award. He's had an unbelievable season. Just what do you think? How do you think his game will translate to the NFL level when we start to get into those conversations?
Yeah, I think his NFL resume, or should I say his traits, are all there. He's a big body quarterback that's mobile enough. He's a processor, but he's not an over processor, and he learns in the midst of a game. That's what I noticed against Ohio State. He was learning in the midst of the game of how to attack them, where to put the ball at, and that's why he was able to make the Heisman moment throws down the stretch to win it. I like Fernando Mendoza. I think he's a top 10 pick. I think that Diego Pavia is the guy that's more of your Baker Mayfield type of personality that He's going to come in with a chip on his shoulder. He's actually a really great runner of the football as well. I think that's a little underappreciated. And he's going to come in with that attitude of, like, I'm better than these guys. So you got the supercomputer, as I call him, in Fernando Mendoza, and then you got the guy that's trying to prove it to everybody all the time in Pavia. That's going to be interesting to see how teams, like, really maneuver and feel those guys out.
He's RG3, Robert Griffin III. Thanks so much.
No, man, appreciate you. But before I go, just want to talk about USA and this partnership that we have. This is the reason I'm here at the Army-Navy game. My parents served in the Army, for 34 combined years. We came here and we were able to give away two free vehicles in our Recycled Rides event to a member from the Navy and a member from the Army National Guard. And that means a lot to me just because I've been with USA for 13 years.
Wow.
They've been doing this for over 100 years, and they've been sponsoring this game for forever, what it feels like. I know this is the 126th edition of the game. But they truly give back to the military in a way that is near and dear to me. It's true and authentic. I'm about true and authentic partnerships, and our military often feels like they're forgotten. I see you here, you got the American flag on with the suit jacket, and I appreciate you being here to shine a light, not just on this game, but also all the veterans that are going to be honored at it. So just want to say thank you to you.
Yeah, of course.
And thank you to USAA for doing everything that they've been doing in our military community, because it doesn't go unnoticed.
He's our buddy RG3. Let's send it back to our New York City studio. Standing by with the latest sports flash is the Act Man, Rich Ackerman.
Infinity Sports Network Sports Flash.
And it's brought to you by Old Trapper. What's your beef? Former Michigan coach Sharon Moore was charged with third-degree home invasion felony, as well as stalking and breaking and entering, both misdemeanors. This following his dismissal as Michigan head coach earlier in the week for an inappropriate relationship with a staff member. The Steelers will be without T.J. Watt Monday night after he underwent surgery for a partially collapsed lung yesterday. He hopes to be back on the field before the end of the season. The Panthers will have J.C. Horn after he cleared concussion protocol, and the door open for Carolina for a division title after the Bucs lost last night. The Saints have ruled out Alvin Kamara for that game. The Bengals' T. Higgins is out with a concussion, while Hollywood Brown, among others, ruled out for the Chiefs. Will be without 3 offensive linemen this weekend. College basketball, one game in the top 25 is number 5. UConn hosts Texas. The Huskies close out the non-conference schedule tonight. 5 of their first 10 games featured ranked opponents. They're coming off a win over Florida on Tuesday, their 4th against that bunch. Also, the Royals have signed Gold Glove third baseman Michael Garcia to a 5-year deal. I'm Rich Ackerman. You're in a 5-minute break. Four minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Four minutes remaining. Three minutes, 30 seconds remaining.
3 minutes remaining. Two minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Two minutes remaining. One minute, 30 seconds remaining. One minute remaining. Forty-five seconds remaining. Thirty seconds remaining. Fifteen seconds. Break ends in 5 seconds.
Zach's taking on the most polarizing issues in sports. Which side of the line of scrimmage will he end up on?
Offside. Defense number 69.
It's Onsides, Offsides with Zach Gelb.
All right, it's time to Ask the Pros, where you, the listener, gets asked us a question brought to you by O'Reilly Auto Parts. Simply tweet your question at INF Sportsnet. Using the hashtag Ask the Pros. Be listening later in the show. We might answer your question. Think O'Reilly Auto Parts for all your car care needs. Get guaranteed low prices and excellent customer service from the professional parts people at O'Reilly Auto Parts. O'Reilly Auto Parts. USAA. We are here. USAA Army Navy Radio Row. Zach Gelb here with you. Live from the Baltimore Convention Center. I'm looking out right now at M&T Bank Stadium. Also Camden Yards to my right. Beautiful day here in Baltimore. Stuart Kovacs is also here with me, and he will be asking me the questions to Onsides, Offsides. Stewie?
All right, Zach. So the Bucs, they fell to the Falcons last night by a score of 29-28.
Choke spot.
Yeah, a choke job, which included a 28-14 lead that they blew with under 10 minutes to go in the fourth quarter. Tampa was 6-2 at one point this season, but with an injury to Mike Evans that sidelined him for a bit, as well as a banged-up Baker Mayfield. The Bucs are now 7-7 and a half game behind the Panthers in the NFC South, with the two teams squaring off next week and in Week 18. Onsides, offsides, the Bucs will still win the NFC South.
So here are the remaining games for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. They play the Carolina Panthers twice, the Dolphins sandwich in between. So I think there's a road for them to split Carolina. and then defeat the Miami Dolphins. If they do that, then they are sitting there at 9-7. Now, when I take a look at the Carolina Panthers, they have the game up against the Saints this weekend. I do think they're going to win that, and they just lost it a few weeks ago. They got to run the ball better. But if they do beat the Saints, they're at 8-6. Then they play Tampa Bay twice. You'd think they probably win one of those, but then they get Seattle. So it looks like we're probably going to end up with both these teams having, 9-8. I think I said 9-7, 9-8 records.
9-8, right.
9-8 records. So then it comes down to how the tiebreakers would go. And so I got to ask the question this way: what do I think is more likely? The Panthers winning both games up against the Bucs, or the Bucs winning both games up against the Panthers? I think it's a toss-up. It feels like the Bucs aren't trending in the right direction. With that being said, whenever you start to think, though, you're getting the NFL this year, it goes the other way. So just when it looks like it's getting ugly for the Bucs, I think they turn it around. So I will say the Bucs will still win the NFC South slightly onsides.
All right, on the other side of last night's game were the Falcons, of course, who had a huge game from tight end Kyle Pitts. The former 4th overall pick has had a disappointing start to his career so far, but he had 11 catches for 166 yards and 3 touchdowns, including one in the fourth quarter. He became the first tight end to have 150 yards or more and 3 touchdowns in the same game since Shannon Sharp did so in 1996. Onside, offsides, you still believe Kyle Pitts can be a top 5 tight end in the NFL?
He's only 25.
It's crazy.
And his first year, he went over 1,000 yards. Since then, 356, 667, 602. This year, he has just below 800 yards receiving. Quietly, he's having a pretty good statistical season when he's 21st in the league in receiving yards. Top 5, though? Now, I know,
That's what he was drafted for.
Kelsey's going to get retired. Right. How much longer, is Kittle going to play at an elite level? Those are questions you got to start asking yourself. I think he could be 5th. I do. I think he could be 5th. But have I seen the consistency yet to make me say, I'm going to expect it? I'm going to say offsides on that. So you still believe Kyle Pitts can be a top 5 NFL tight end? Yeah, I'm going offsides. Next one.
Offside.
All right, and one of the marquee games of the NFL this Sunday, your 11-2 Patriots.
Oh, wait, sorry. Now I actually have someone that isn't a jackass here. What's the record of the Patriots? Sorry, I couldn't hear you.
11-2.
Oh, right.
They've won more than 10 games. They are 11-2.
Yeah.
They host the 9-4 Bills.
Samter should have seen the S-eating grin on Stu's face when he said that. Go ahead, though.
It's a rematch of Week 5, of course, which was a coming-out party for Drake May and company, where New England won 23-20 behind 273 passing yards from Drake May. Buffalo, meanwhile, they have won their last 2 games after recent losses to both the Dolphins and Texans. Onsides, offsides, if the Bills win on Sunday, they will win the AFC East.
I'm going to go offside on that. The Patriots' remaining schedule, they're 11-2 right now. The Bills are 9-4. So the Bills win, they would be 10-4. The Patriots would be 11-3. Buffalo then would still have to play Cleveland, the Eagles, and the Jets. Probably another loss in there, I would imagine, just to probably Philly. As the Patriots, they got to play Baltimore, who's not trending in the right direction right now, the lousy Jets, and then the Miami Dolphins. I think the Patriots are going to win the AFC East. So onside, offsides, if the Bills win on Sunday, they will win the AFC East. I am going offsides.
Offside.
All right, after getting fired by the Jets midseason last year, Robert Saleh quickly found full-time work again, as he is once again the defensive coordinator for the 49ers. However, San Fran was not the only team interested in Saleh this offseason, as Connor Orr of Sports Illustrated said that the Raiders made a lucrative offer to Saleh this offseason to become the team's defensive coordinator and the successor to Pete Carroll once he retired. Orr added that the Raiders will likely revisit with Saleh this offseason. Onsides, offsides, Robert Saleh will be a head coach again in the NFL at some point.
I'm actually going to say onsides, and it may sound crazy, but I think people like him. And I read some report, I don't know how true it was, that the Raiders were interested in bringing him in as their DC this past offseason. It made him a very lucrative offer, and it was like, hey, you'll be the heir apparent when
a wink, wink, yeah.
When Pete Carroll ends up hanging it up. I think Saleh is a nice guy. I think people like him. So I think he'll get, if Adam Gase got another opportunity, I think Robert Saleh will get another opportunity. So I'll go on sides on that one.
All right, the SEC announced its 2026 football schedule last night with a lot of intriguing matchups, as always, within the conference. You have Georgia at Alabama October 10th, Alabama at LSU November 7th, Texas at Texas A&M November 27th, and, of course, Lane Kiffin's return to Ole Miss as LSU. They travel to Oxford on September 19th. Onsides, offsides, LSU at Ole Miss is the college football game you are most looking forward to next season.
Oh, that's a great. Michigan, Ohio State obviously is one. Auburn, Alabama. You got Army, Navy clearly, but just the theatrics of that. Remember when Ed Cooley had to go back to Providence? That was something that people remember. Chris Beard when he left quickly before he had his issues with Texas Tech to go to Texas. But yeah, Lane Kiffin going back to Ole Miss, that's going to be a scene. So I'll say onsides on that.
All right, sticking with college football, the status of Michigan quarterback Bryce Underwood is unknown following the dismissal of head coach Jerome Moore on Wednesday. Underwood has since followed LSU on Instagram, the only program that he follows aside from Michigan. And LSU, of course, was the school that he originally committed to before Michigan boosters got involved and got him to come to Ann Arbor. Onsides, offsides, Bryce Underwood will transfer from Michigan this offseason.
It's tough to say without knowing who the head coach is. Now, Michigan is paying him a ton of money. I think he should stay, but with how often now people just jump, with the uncertainty in this program right now, if you made me say today, what is he going to do? I'm going to say that he's going to transfer. So Bryce Underwood will transfer from Michigan this offseason. I'll go on sides.
All right, the Heisman Trophy winner will be announced tomorrow night in New York City with a star-studded cast. Indiana quarterback Fernando Mendoza is the favorite, and he is joined by Vanderbilt quarterback Diego Pavia, Ohio State quarterback Julian Sain, and Notre Dame running back Jeremiah Love. Now, number 5 through 10, they were revealed last night with Texas Tech linebacker Jacob Rodriguez just missing, coming in at 5th. Onsides, offsides, there should be a defensive player at the Heisman Trophy ceremony every year.
I don't think it's incredulous that there's not one this year. I could easily argue that David Bailey should have been a Heisman finalist or, one of the top 10 over Jacob Rodriguez just on his same team. So there should be a defensive player at the Heisman Trophy ceremony every year. No, I'm not going to put that parameter out there. I'll go offsides.
All right. Last one real quickly. Of course, it's been a rough offseason start for your Mets. They've parted ways with 3 fan favorites. They traded away Brandon Nimmo. They let Edwin Diaz go to the Dodgers. And then, of course, as you mentioned, Pete Alonso, he signed with the Orioles. Onsides, offsides, if the Mets don't trade for Tarek Skubal and sign one of Cody Bellinger or Kyle Tucker, the offseason will be a failure.
Would you rather have Cody Bellinger or Kyle Tucker?
I think Tucker's a better player.
Okay. I think I would slightly rather have Bellinger. I honestly wouldn't be jumping for joy for either. With that being said, I would love Tarek Skubal. So if you tell me they get Tarek Skubal and then one of Bellinger or Tucker, I think that's a way to restore where the belief is right now of this team. So if the Mets don't trade for Tarek Skubal and sign one of Cody Bellinger or Kyle Tucker this offseason, it will be a failure. Yeah, I'm going to go on sides on that. Zach Gelb with you, USA Army Navy Radio Row, live from Baltimore. Chris Doering going to join us live on set next.
You're in a 5-minute break. Four minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Four minutes remaining. 3 minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Three minutes remaining. Two minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Two minutes remaining. One minute, 30 seconds remaining. One minute remaining. Forty-five seconds remaining. Seconds remaining. Fifteen seconds. Break ends in 5 seconds.
Infinity and beyond.
He's live. He's nationwide. This is the Zach Gelb Show.
Hour number 2 of our radio program. It is the Zach Gelb Show, coast to coast on the Infinity Sports Network. Now joining us on set. We usually have him all the time via Zoom.
Good to see you face to face, man.
That is Chris Doering, of course, the former Florida wide receiver, now with Sirius XM, USA Army Navy Radio Row. Chris, how you been?
I'm good, man. It's exciting to be here. I've never been at an Army Navy game, and excited to be in that stadium tomorrow. And the last time I was here, I'm looking out over M&T Bank Stadium. The last time I was here as a Steeler, so it was not the warmest reception as a player. So good to be back in a little different light here now. Now
the security is so intense, but what was it like taking the bus over here as a Steeler and you seeing all those Ravens fans?
Yeah, that you don't have a whole lot of great rivalries in pro football, but the Ravens-Steelers rivalry was tremendous and intense, and it always seemed like we ended up getting in fights with the players and all. So I played with Joey Porter. Joey Porter and Ray Lewis going back and forth. Right, this was like a week after Joey Porter got shot in the back home, and he's arguing with. I mean, it was just a surreal kind of rivalry between the two.
What do you think is the best rivalry in college football?
I mean, I'm biased, but Florida Georgia is always my favorite. But I think you probably have to look at the Iron Bowl. You have to look at Ohio State, Michigan. Those are two that stand out to me. But just from the visual of what it's like to play in Jacksonville, the Florida-Georgia game, the orange and blue in half of the stadium, red and black in the other half, I imagine there'll be a lot of similar kind of visuals tomorrow in the stadium that I'm looking forward to kind of taking in.
Advancing to the college football playoff, when you take a look at Oklahoma, Alabama, we saw these two teams play not that long ago. Was it 23-21? The offenses weren't great. It was really a defensive battle. Is that what you kind of expect coming up next week?
I think, what you saw before the Oklahoma game, the week before they played LSU, and LSU exposed a weakness for Alabama in that they have a trouble in pass protection, whether it's the offensive line issues, more so running back issues. So Oklahoma was able to create some pressures that got their best blitzers on running backs. And they have not been consistent stepping up and taking on the pressure. And I think you're going to see Oklahoma do the same thing. Ty Simpson, they don't have the run game to be able to take any pressure off of him. His completion percentage has gone down over the last month because of all the pressure he's been under. I think Oklahoma rolls their same game plan out there and says, hey, prove to us you can run the football. Prove to us that you can pick up our blitzes.
I never know what's true or not now on the internet, but there's this rumor about Ty Simpson and his back. Like, is he healthy? Do you have any insight on that?
I mean, as much as he's been taking hits, I wouldn't expect him to be a whole lot. Everybody's kind of banged up at this time of year, but I give him a lot of credit. He keeps showing up, and honestly, without the protection, they're not able to use their most talent, and that's the receivers between Ryan Williams and Jeremy Bernard and Isaiah Horton. Those guys are real impact makers that aren't being able to have that impact because of the offensive line and the running back issues.
Chris Doering here with us. So when we go back to last Sunday, and the College Football Playoff Committee was making their announcement, I thought Bama was going to fall back one spot. Notre Dame was going to move up. They would debate then Bama and Miami. Bama would be in, Miami would be out. Were you surprised after getting blown out in the SEC championship game that they kept Bama in that 9th spot?
I think a message was being sent in that final ranking of the regular season, and Notre Dame should have known they were on the verge of being in trouble. The totality of the season matters, and I think Notre Dame didn't have 4 good wins. Alabama had 4 good wins in successive weeks when they had to go to Athens and beat Georgia, when they came home and beat Vandy, when they had to go to Como and beat Missouri and then beat Tennessee at home. All 4 back-to-back weeks. I know you can point to the end of the season. Alabama kind of limped into the season. But Notre Dame, they lost head-to-head to Miami. Head-to-head should matter when the records are the same. So I think the committee got it right. I hate that Notre Dame's not in because I think they could be a team that could win a couple games, maybe win the whole thing. But I think it's going to be the impetus for change that we need to expand the playoff.
What would you like to see that change be?
I'd like to see 16. 16's nice and neat. I think it doesn't water it down too much. But it's crazy. There was a time, Zach, that we the one would play the 4 and they'd blow out the 4 and we don't have enough teams to make it well,
really in the 4-team format, I never felt like anyone got screwed. I know you could argue the whole Florida State thing, but it always felt as if the right 4 teams got in, and most of those semifinal games were terrible.
Yeah, they weren't all that competitive. But now, I mean, it's kind of timed up with the transfer portal and seeing talent dispersed a lot more evenly. So I do think there's more parity. Look at the SEC this year. The parity that existed just in that conference alone was wild. Football's great. More football is even better. I'm excited to have players playing in more meaningful games.
The most surreal thing has been the last 3 days. What happened at Michigan with Sharon Moore? I just saw a photo of him in jail getting arraigned, and you just almost can't believe it with where he was 2 weeks ago. Now the speculation, and this is what we do right as fans, who's going to be the next coach of Michigan? We saw the rumors with Kalen DeBoer in Penn State. Obviously nothing came to fruition there. And now people are going to say, well, Kalen DeBoer's a fit at Michigan. I agree. If Oklahoma beats Alabama, maybe he wants to leave. But at the end of the day, if I'm a coach and I get it, Michigan's a great job, I root for Michigan, I don't leave Alabama until
Yeah.
you're told to do so, and I don't think the university really wants him out.
I know the university doesn't. I know there's some fans that are probably the vocal minority that do, but I don't think they understand just how fortunate they were to be able to go get a coach that has the sort of resume that Kalen DeBoer has, the kind of man that he is. He's going to figure it out, and it's just a matter of time. Unfortunately, the expectation of following in Nick Saban's footsteps are tough to live up to. But, I mean, you're talking about a team that was the number 1 seed in the SEC championship game a week ago, coming off a 9-3 season, which, the sky was falling in year 1 for Alabama fans. I hope he stays. I give him a lot of credit for even coming to take that job, knowing the pressure and expectation that came along with it.
Something that really didn't get talked about, Chris Doering here with us. You probably did more so on Sirius, so you got to break down all the SEC teams. But at least from what we do nationally, I felt this way. Georgia getting the 3 seed. I think they should have been the 2 seed.
I think they should have been the 2 seed too. I mean, basically, what the playoff committee tells us is that when comparing 2 teams that are viewed as similar, conference championships matter. So the SEC champion, the champion of the most difficult league, top to bottom to play in, is not in comparison with the runner-up of the Big Ten. It just doesn't make sense to me. And I know people say it doesn't matter, but eventually the path it'll matter. I believe too that Ole Miss should have been the 5 seed ahead of Oregon. If you really want to talk about totality of the whole body of work.
And what is going to be interesting here is that, right, you have the rematch Alabama, Oklahoma. I'm assuming Ole Miss is going to beat Tulane. Yeah. I know, hot take.
Yeah.
Then you're going to get Georgia, Ole Miss again in the second round. And that first game, Ole Miss kicked the crap out of them for the first 3 quarters. And then Georgia was Georgia in the fourth.
Yeah, went up 35 points they scored through 3 quarters. They had a 9-point lead heading into the fourth quarter and let it get away. This is a team I think for Ole Miss's defense is better now than they were at that point in the year. But I think Georgia's gotten a lot better. Georgia, to me, is the best team in the league. Looking where they came from to now their defense is starting to get more negative plays. They're starting to pressure the quarterback more. You're seeing them run the football more effectively. Georgia is the team that I picked to win it all, but it will be kind of interesting to see, what Ole Miss can take from that first game and kind of replicate in this one.
If Georgia, because I agree with you. About a month ago, I said, man, everyone was criticizing Georgia all year. They're kind of outside of this year what the Chiefs have been the last 2-3 years in the NFL. And I started to say to myself, since they survived some of those close games, like pulling out against Tennessee, Ole Miss, like we talked about, they feel like a team that, hey, Kirby Smart's been 2 years without a natty, feels like he's going to get another one this year. But if it's not Georgia, Chris Doering, who do you then pick to win the Big Ten, to win the national championship?
Thing. Yeah, so we talked about of the 5 teams in the SEC that are in the college football playoff field. I think 2.5, 3 of them maybe can win it all. I think I put Texas A&M in that. I worry about their run defense. They gave up four different games of 200-plus rushing yards. Texas did it to them. That second half, they ran the ball right down their throat. But I do think Marcel Reed is special, and Casey Concepcion, Mario Craver, great pair of receivers that are at his disposal. I think Oklahoma, too. Oklahoma's defense, to me, is a national championship winning defense. The offense has just been surprisingly the weak point. But if you can keep from putting your defense in a bad situation, teams aren't going to go up and down the field on them. You go back and look at that LSU game in the last game of the season. LSU scored 1 touchdown. It was on a turnover that set them at the 33-yard line. Other than that, they had a 42-yard drive that ended in a field goal and another 42-yard drive that ended in a field goal. I think Oklahoma, I like them a lot, and I'm ready for Mateer to start being that quarterback that we saw before the injury.
I'll tell you, as someone that doesn't have a dog in the fight, the 2 teams that are easy to root for in the college football playoff, Indiana and then also Ole Miss.
Got to cheer for Ole Miss, right?
I love Ole Miss. Kejuan Lacey, Trinidad Chambliss. Yep. But also Lane Kiffin leaving, going to LSU, Golden coming in, cursing up like a storm every 2 seconds. That's a team that's easy to root for.
They are easy to root for. Even before the whole Lane Kiffin thing, they were easy to root for. But if you look at how that team has kind of come together, I thought Keith Carter, the athletic director, did a great job in naming Pete Golding the permanent head coach. You look at the big thing was getting Charlie Weiss Jr. back for the playoff run. He's been the play caller all year long. So I think the players are excited to prove something, and the fan base, this has really brought them together as well. You're seeing unprecedented gifts being given in terms of money to the Grove Collective. This is only going to make Ole Miss stronger in the end.
When we get to LSU, when Brian Kelly was hired, everyone said, hey, He didn't think he could win a national championship at Notre Dame. You go to LSU, they've had 3 different national championship winning coaches since 2000. Then he goes to the basketball game, and he says the Tiger family stuff, and everyone's like, I don't know if that's going to be a match. Obviously, it didn't work. For Lane Kiffin, why will it work? Why will he win a national championship at LSU?
I think they have the highest. I believe that they have the highest ceiling. That they, their commitment financially, their tradition, the talent in the state of Louisiana. Lane Kiffin's one of the best offensive minds in football right now. So I do think they have a high ceiling. But you can't tell me there's not a part of you that could see this ending in some sort of similar way that it ended at Ole Miss. Whether he ends up wanting to go to the NFL or something doesn't work out.
Bama.
Yeah, Bama. I don't think Bama would ever have him, honestly. But I do think that it's a guy that's constantly looking at the next best thing out there. And being a Florida guy, I'm excited about John Summerall. What we got, wasn't the guy that everybody wanted, but I think in the end, it's the guy that we needed.
Well, I was talking to Tim Tebow about this earlier in the week, and I said to him, I go, Summerall's a football psycho. And he was like, yeah, the coach of Florida needs to have an edge, needs to have an arrogance to him. Then I texted Channing Crowder, and he used a little bit more colorful language. He's like, you need the coach to kind of be an a-hole a little bit. That's what Florida needs.
Well, the Florida fans were so frustrated with Billy Napier and his kind of mild-mannered decorum on the sideline. But look at Todd Golden, the basketball coach, man. He's screaming, he's hit dudes on the butt. He's like, getting fired up. I think you're going to see a similar sort of demeanor on the sideline from John Summerall. I think he's done a great job with the coordinator hires already too.
You could be the hold me back coach for him. He may need one.
Yeah, he's definitely going to need one of those for sure. But man, I'm excited. Florida finishing 4-8 should not ever be a thing.
Yeah, no doubt about that. Last one that I'll ask you, just getting back to the college football playoff, A&M Miami. How do you kind of break that one down?
Yeah, I think it's this is perfect for Mike Elko, and it's surprising. I talked about the run game struggles. Miami's going to try to be physical on the lines of scrimmage. They're going to try to run the football. It's going to be a test for the A&M defense. But I do think that this game, I wish it was a night game there in College Station, but it's going to be an insane asylum at 11 a.m. there. So I like A&M in this one.
Chris Doering, appreciate it. Thanks so much.
Good to be with you in person.
You got it. There he is, Chris Doering. Zach Gelb here with you on the Infinity Sports Network. Andy Agar will join us next.
You're in a 5-minute break. Four minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Four minutes remaining. Three minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Three minutes remaining. 2 minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Two minutes remaining. One minute, 30 seconds remaining. One minute remaining. Forty-five seconds remaining. Thirty seconds remaining. Fifteen seconds. Break ends in 5 seconds.
This is the Zach Gelb Show on the Infinity Sports Network.
All righty, welcome back in. Zach Gelb here with you on the Infinity Sports Network, coast to coast. We're here, USAA Army Navy Radio Row, and Annie Agar is here with us. You obviously see her all the time on social media, probably grilling your NFL or college football teams. Annie, appreciate the time. How are you?
I'm doing great. This is so fun. First Army Navy game. The energy is electric. It's so great.
So how did you get involved with this partnership?
Yeah, so I'm here with USAA, and we did a couple things with them a few years ago when I first kind of got into content creation. And I'm super big in giving back to the military, and I've done some stuff with Black Rifle Coffee Company during Salute to Service Month. So I think they saw that content, knew my connection with the military, and figured this was the perfect game to create content around. So we're here.
So obviously everyone sees your clips, and they love the therapy sessions and the breakdowns and the grillings and all that. How did you get involved? Like, how did Annie Agar, who we're talking to today, come about?
Yeah, great question. So this all started during COVID. As many people did, I got on TikTok during it. I was currently working in local news, and I was grinding my way. ESPN was the goal, to get up to a bigger network and working in sports. And then when COVID hit and all that shut down, that was the first time we didn't have sports to cover. I didn't have anything to do for my job, so I didn't have any money, moved back home. I got on TikTok, and I thought, you know what, I'm going to do a video of the Big Ten, if the Big Ten was getting football up and going again, and play off the stereotypes of the Big Ten and just kind of do a roast video and make it funny. And I think people needed that comedic relief at the time, because overnight it got 3 million views. So I was like, okay, this is what people want. They want this comedy. They want to be able to talk about sports again. So I did the other conferences, and then I had the idea to do this weekly recap of the NFL videos. and kind of just like tell people what's going on in the NFL, but also make it that roast format and lay into the teams. And that's how I talk sports with my friends, with my family. Like, my family, we're very sarcastic people, so that's where the comedy side came from. So I did these weekly videos, and now we're here. 1 million followers later, and 4 years later, we're at Army Navy. So.
Yeah, like when you do this job, there's always those viral moments where the whole sports world is talking about you. For you, when was like that first moment that you said, holy crap, I can't believe this has that many views and this many people actually care what I have to say?
That's a great question. I had, the most viral tweet I had, I think, to this day even, was I went to my first Super Bowl. It was Bengals-Rams in L.A.
Oh, yeah.
And if you remember the Super Bowl, I made a caption. I posted a picture of me at the game, and I said I had a great time providing coverage at my first Super Bowl, unlike Eli Apple. And it went pretty viral, guys, and not maybe in the best way, because Eli Apple got wind of it and kind of came for me, but it was fun, and the guys were super
his
cool.
Mom
with
too,
his mom did. Yes, see,
Yeah.
His mom tweeted at me, and it was not nice. But the guys that I talk to now, like, I've done stuff with Jamar Chase and Justin Fields, and they're so great about it. Dak Prescott, like, I make so much fun of the Cowboys, and they all know it's a joke, and at the end of the day, I respect them so much. And if you can't laugh about it, like, you're getting paid millions of dollars, it's your job, so why not make jokes about it? I'd do it with anybody else, type of thing. So they've usually been super great with it, but that was the first tweet that went. I mean, that was like a massive amount of people saw that. So
I actually have a video in my phone from that Super Bowl that I've never posted, because when the Rams took the lead and Joe Burrow got the ball back, I always see those videos. They left Joe Burrow too much time on the clock.
Right.
And I had a bunch of Rams fans sitting around me in my section, so I started recording one of those videos, and I had it in the drafts ready to go. And
no way.
Then Aaron Donald happened, and Jamar Chase was wide open down the right sideline, and nothing ever happened out of it.
That's wild. It's so fun to look back at those big moments, too, because you never know what's going on in the NFL. Like, this year, the NFL is wild.
Yeah.
This is like
it's
the weirdest
the most
NFL
open
year.
it's ever been.
Yeah. Somebody else was asking me, like, who's the standalone team?
There's not one.
No.
Like,
I'd say
I'm
Josh
a Patriot
Allen,
fan.
but not the Bills, the team itself, but just Josh Allen.
Mm-hmm. So I'm a Patriot fan.
Okay.
And if you would have told me before the season started that they would have 11 wins and there's a chance that they could go to the Super Bowl, I would have never believed it. But who in the AFC is really in their way outside of Josh Allen?
Exactly, and whoever they are, they're definitely not on your schedule because their schedule is off.
Hey, they beat Tampa Bay, they beat the Bills.
The worst thing is now their schedule looks even worse because of last night. The Tampa game was terrible.
You're a Packers fan, right?
Yeah.
Didn't you guys lose to the Panthers, right?
Roast me.
The Patriots smother the Panthers.
Bryce Young turns into Tom Brady some games. So that man, I don't understand that man at all. Wild.
So you're from Michigan, right?
I am.
Detroit or
born and raised? Yep.
So I'm from
Makes no sense.
I'm from Long Island in New York. So everyone's like, how'd you become a Patriot fan? How'd you become a Patriot fan? But you're an Ohio State football fan and a Packers fan. You just love to troll people.
You've done your research, yes.
Right?
But specifically Michiganders, I feel like. I grew up with a ton of U of M fans around me, so I hate U of M. Like, with a passion. My dad and my grandpa went to Michigan State. My other grandpa's a Notre Dame fan. So I think we just hate U of M from both sides. And that's where and I loved Evan Turner for some odd reason.
Oh, really?
He was like the player that I wanted to play like.
He actually dated a girl who played basketball named Sammy Perhalis, she must have lived 5 doors down from me growing up. Yeah, and Evan, one day I'm walking around the neighborhood, I'm like,
Evan Turner?
That's Evan Turner.
No way.
And Sammy Perhalis, she played basketball at Ohio State. She was like a huge basketball player on the island.
Sounds familiar.
She went to the
I feel
WNBA.
like I remember. Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's wild. Yeah, I loved him. I don't know why. I mean, he had a great shot against Michigan in the Big Ten tourney, and we just grew up hating U of M. That's just how we were, as state fans, that's just what you do. So that was that side. And then the Packers, my best friend was from Wisconsin, and she had 6 brothers growing up, and I was young. I was like 6 at the time. I'd go and hang out with her on the weekends, and I came home one weekend, and I told my dad, I was like, her brothers don't cry on Sundays over there. He was like, yeah, they're Packers fans. A little different than Detroit. And then they got me a Brett Favre jersey and taught me everything about Packers fandom, and it made my brother mad, so I was like, oh, this is a win-win, and I became a Packers fan.
So the Packers, to me, they're good.
Yes.
I'm wondering if they could be great. That's been the conversation the last 2 years. How
100%.
far away do you think they are to being great?
I think, health is a big part of that, too. Micah was huge for that defense. Like, our defense would have been non-serviceable, I don't think, without Micah, and I love it. Like, I love what they do on that side of the ball. Offensively, the play calling is an issue sometimes. Like, it's almost like we haven't decided yet if we trust Jordan enough to just let him air it out sometimes. And when he does, he throws into triple coverage, looks a lot like Brett Favre, and we get these insane picks that ruin the game. I was talking about on a show, my show back in Chicago, there's a huge correlation with Jordan throwing a pick and losing the game. Like, he didn't throw a pick in the past 4 games. We won all those. Like, it's just wild to me how there's, like, no trust with Jordan, and I think he's a great quarterback. Like, we have 3 back-to-back Hall of Fame quarterbacks, I swear. It's amazing. Like, the Packers' luck is coming from somewhere because it's been a great time to be a fan. But in terms of, like, trusting the offense, I don't know if they're a Super Bowl level offense. I don't think anybody knows yet.
But this year you may not have to be great to win it all.
Right, because of how weird the NFL is. That's a great point.
No offense to Ohio State. Like last year, I didn't think you needed to be great to win a national championship.
Right.
They lose to Michigan, and then they say, oh, we have the most talented team in the country. If we're just very good, we could find a way to win it all.
Right, exactly. That's exactly how this NFL team or this NFL season feels. Like we just have no idea who's good enough to win a Super Bowl or not, and who's going to be on the opposite side of that because the AFC is wide open. It's like really weird.
Who's the college football fan base that you annoy the most with your videos?
Probably Michigan.
Okay.
Yeah.
So that translates Ohio State, Michigan.
Yes, and I think they hate watch. You know how like if you hate a team or you hate a creator, you're going to watch them more. I think people do, which is great. Like I hate watch Michigan things too. So it all comes full circle. But yeah, I think I probably annoy them the most.
And then NFL wise, is it? Let me guess, the Bears.
I think so. I thought it was the Cowboys for a while.
Okay.
Because Cowboys fans always comment.
But they know the joke. Like
they
now
know.
the Cowboys fans, because Jerry Jones runs the show like they
and
are.
they know that Jerry's a joke and all that.
Yeah.
Like that's already out there. But Bears fans, because they actually have a chance. Like Caleb looked pretty good in that game. Bears are a little scaring me a little bit. So I think they know that, and that makes them hate me even more.
Okay. Who gets out of the Super Bowl in the AFC if you had to make a prediction?
I don't know. I think probably Patriots. Like Denver. This week will be a really good test for Denver because their schedule, too, people have been saying it's kind of light. And Bo Nix is like a different quarterback in the fourth quarter. But I don't know. I'd probably go right now, all around Patriots. I would give it to the Bills, and I think this is their year because they won't have to go through Lamar and Mahomes like they do usually. So if there's a year for the Bills to win it, it's got to be this year. But Josh has no help. So I'm going to say Patriots.
Patriot fan Annie Agar here with us, and she's picking the Patriots out of the AFC.
Oh, jeez.
Then who gets out of the NFC? Are you going with the Packers?
Packers, yep.
Okay.
Wouldn't that be a weird Super Bowl? That would be so weird.
Yeah. It would. Well, they saw, 95 or 96, 97, something around there?
Well, like in the past 4 years, it's been the 2 teams we thought it was going to be majority of the time. Like you saw Eagles, Chiefs. Like this year, I just don't know.
If it's not the Packers, like who's the team in the NFC that scares you the most?
Probably, in terms of like who I'd want to see would be Detroit, just for my family.
Okay.
Which is weird to say because we're in the same division, but they're like my number 2 team. I don't know if I could see them making it there, but we'll go Lions.
When you do this trolling, like, is there a line that ever gets too old? Like, seeing Ghost and Mono for Sam Darnold. There's things that I still say on the radio when he plays a bad game. Is there something where you go, okay, I've been trolling for 5-6 years?
I've done it so many times. Yeah.
You know, like Manti Te'o jokes. Like that has to be past the the line now.
That's a really good question. I try to keep it like newer and fresh, and I'll include like trending topics that are happening currently, and like repurpose the joke, but say in a different way or use it in a different way. I don't like the Cowboys and the not making it past the NFC Championship game is always like a big one that
you should just do a black and white video. Be like, that's the last time your team was relevant.
Right. Or the Jets and that 15 years in a row not making the playoffs. Like
butt fumble.
Right. Mm-hmm. I try to stay away from the classic ones, but they also are classic for a reason because it keeps happening. So you got to lay into them at some point.
One more time, Annie Agar, tell us what you're doing today with USAA.
We are doing a bunch of content around Army Navy, getting people excited for it. They had a rendezvous point that we were doing content around, and it's basically just bringing people through Army Navy because for some people, from what I've found out now, they don't know how big this game is. Like it has its own weekend for a reason. It is an electric game. All of America's gonna be watching. I'm so excited.
Annie, thanks so much.
Of course, thank you.
Let's head back to New York City studio. Standing by with the latest sports flash is the Ackman, Rich Ackerman.
Infinity Sports Network Sports Flash.
And it's brought to you by Progressive Commercial Insurance, who protects small businesses with affordable coverage options. Quote today at progressivecommercial.com. The outstanding run of Kyle Whittingham at Utah is coming to an end. He announced he's stepping down after 21 seasons. His final game will be the Las Vegas Bowl. Whittingham won 177 games in his time in Provo, which also included moving up in class to the Pac-12. He succeeded Urban Meyer back in 2004 and became the school's all-time winningest coach. Sharon Moore has been charged with 3 crimes after being fired by Michigan for an inappropriate relationship with a staff member. The 39-year-old faces felony third-degree home invasion, stalking, and breaking and entering. And the other 2 are misdemeanors. TJ Watt hopes to return to the field this year. The Steelers pass rusher had surgery yesterday for a partially collapsed lung and is out. Kenny Pickett starts for the Raiders with Geno Smith down with a shoulder injury. It'll come against his former team as well. Jalen Carter, Lane Johnson, both will miss their second straight for Philly. Bengals will be without T. Higgins, who remains in concussion protocol, but the Panthers' J.C. Horn has been cleared as Carolina chases a division title. Alvin Kamara will be out for the Saints. I'm Rich Eck.
Hey-o, sports fans, it's Pat Boyle here on the Infinity Sports Network. Check us out 24/7 on your local affiliate or on the Odyssey app. Download it today.
You're in a 5-minute break. Four minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Four minutes remaining. Three minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Three minutes remaining. Two minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Two minutes remaining. One minute, 30 seconds remaining. One minute remaining. 45 seconds remaining. Seconds remaining. Seconds. Break ends in 5 seconds.
You're listening to the Zach Gelb Show.
Alrighty, welcome back in. Zach Gelb here with you. USAA, yeah, that's right, USAA Army Navy Radio Row live in Baltimore. We do have some college football news in the coaching carousel front. We'll get to it right now, and then we will get to a news brief coming up momentarily. Bruce Feldman just reported that Missouri's offensive coordinator Kirby Moore will be the new head football coach at Washington State. The former Boise State wide receiver, the youngest brother of Kellen Moore, grew up about 160 miles from Pullman. His offense was number 1 in rushing in the SEC and ranked 4th in third down offense. There was a rumor, actually, that Washington State was actually interested in Rick Neuheisel, who was around here earlier today. So I'm just going to assume that if Rick was going to get the job, and I know that he has obligations here for CBS, and that's why he's here, that he would probably not be out and about. But yes, that news did just get announced that Kirby Moore is going to be the next head football coach at Washington State. Also, a friend of the show, someone that has been on the show many, many times, going back to the weekend overnight days of the Zach Gelb Show right here on what was CBS Sports Radio, now the Infinity Sports Network. I think this was the worst kept secret probably in college football. And I remember 2 years ago, we had Kyle Whittingham on the show, and I asked him just straight up, because like a lot of hosts, I don't know why, they do interviews and they just do like grab-ass questions, and they just basically don't ask any questions and just smoochy, just suck up to the coach. And 2 years ago, I just asked Kyle Whittingham straight up, like, hey, coach, there's been so many changes in the sport. You're established. A lot of coaches your age, right, they get stubborn and they're set in their ways and they don't want to adapt. Like, how much longer do you think you're going to do this? And Kyle Whittingham, I remember he said something in the lines of, I'm not getting any younger. I'm not going to tell you I'm going to be doing this for another decade. The end is near, but he still felt like he had a few years left in him. Well, before the season was announced, did play, they announced a coach in waiting at Utah. So once you announce that the coach was in waiting, could you be like Jim Boeheim? Let's just be real. Jim Boeheim, I never think intended to retire, and he was going to do this until they dragged him out of the facility. But once you get to normal, sane human beings, which I don't think Jim Boeheim was, and his arrogance really did him in at the end, do you really, like, Jim Boeheim was a distraction guy. Jim Boeheim was good with the drama. Jim Boeheim was good with the center of attention. Kyle Whittingham really just was bring your lunch pail to work, hardworking guy, no nonsense, all business, all football. Just the way that I know Coach Whittingham, the way that I do. He wanted to take care of his own, and I don't think he ever wanted to be the center of the story. So once we found out before the season started that they had a coach in waiting, I've always got the sense that this was going to be the final year of Kyle Whittingham. Now, people ask those questions. He never gave them the answer, so that kind of, prevents the hoopla, and, it wasn't going to be a retirement tour. But Kyle Whittingham is going to step down as the Utah head coach. He's the all-time winningest head coach in Utah football history, and Utah football announced that he will coach his last game for the Utes in the Las Vegas Bowl on December 31st. So congratulations to Kyle Whittingham. I thought for a while he was an extremely underrated coach, and he was someone that, felt like a top 10 coach, but probably never got that top 10 coach recognition. And he's done some masterful things at Utah, and they will be playing Nebraska at 3:30 p.m. Eastern Time in that final game for Coach Kyle Whittingham. So just a class act gentleman, someone that has been in the sport for a very long time, and you saw what he was able to do at Utah and the way that through multiple conferences and what he was able to do with that program, probably one of the more underappreciated coaches in the sport. And he won those back-to-back Pac-12 championships in 2021 and 2022. And he's someone that, stayed at Utah, could have left for many other jobs. There was always interest in Kyle Whittingham, and he's got there as the head coach in 2005 and now is leaving at the end of the calendar year. And he actually first got to Utah in 1994. So he was a defensive line coach and then was, bouncing around the defensive side of the ball from 1994 all the way to 2004, and then spends that time as the head coach from 2005 to 2025. Just a really good human being and a really good football coach, and obviously wish him nothing but the best in his retirement as Kyle Whittingham, who is 66 years old, is walking away from the Utah program after what has been a wonderful run, and he's going to coach his final game in the bowl game coming up at the end of the month in Las Vegas up against Little Go Big Red and Nebraska. By the way, this NBA preview is brought to you by eBay. eBay is home to millions of finds, and each one becomes part of your story. From your favorite vintage band tee to the dream car you've been searching for, it's all there. eBay, things people love. The Timberwolves and Warriors square off tonight in San Francisco. Anthony Edwards is currently averaging 28.6 points per game, while Steph Curry leads the way for the Golden State Warriors with 27.9 points per game. It's time to update you on some of the biggest stories in the world of sports with some audio. Let's get to a news brief right now.
Time for your daily news brief. We get you caught up on the rumors, reports, and reconnaissance from the day in sports.
Alrighty, news brief time on the Infinity Sports Network. I guess Samter just sent me a note. Oh, you guys have that Kyle Whittingham audio when I was talking about his future? Let's listen up to that as Kyle Whittingham just announced his retirement.
NIL is certainly put a different spin on things, the transfer portal, but I know it's nowhere near resembling what you and I grew up with college football wise, and it's never going to be the same. It'll never get back to what it was, but that's okay with me. I mean, you just keep moving and changing and adapting, and I think at some point they'll put some parameters on what's going on, particularly in the NIL. But for right now, you just got to be able to navigate it, and even as challenging as it can be, that wouldn't be the primary thing that would drive me into retirement. It's just I'm getting up there, but I still feel like I have a few good years left.
So there you go. That was Kyle Whittingham with us, I believe, 2 years ago, right here on the Zach Gelb Show. And he announced his retirement today. They're the coach in waiting, so away you go. Congratulations to Coach. We'll keep it moving on a news brief. Our next cut will be Todd Bowles. Listen to the way that he threw the players under the bus last night as Todd Bowles was at the podium, and his football team blew a lead to the Atlanta Falcons and blew the game.
At this point, you've seen everything in the season. The coaches have done everything they can do. This is a player-driven team in the last 4 or 5 weeks. You got to execute, and they got to hold each other accountable. As a coach, you can sit there till you blue in the face until they start holding each other accountable and doing the little things right. And that's not everybody. We're talking about a small select few, but the small select few is what's getting us beat. And until that happens, it's not going to get right. So we got to get up and go to work tomorrow. No matter how bad today looks, you got to put it behind you, and we got to win the last 3 games. We know that.
Man, that is a coach right there that I think he's starting to get concerned about his job security. And I understand sometimes, blasting your players. Most coaches don't do that anymore at the podium. How many times do people end up protecting their head football coach? But, you end up protecting their players. But, geez, that is one of those situations and one of those scenarios where I kind of think he knows that it's probably the end, and he's trying to challenge his players and try to get the best out of them. And that's the way that I interpret what we just heard. But then he was asked about his job security. I'm going to imagine, if I have to guess this answer, I haven't heard the answer yet. I'm going to guess he's going to say, I'm not focused on that. I'm going to coach the team as long as they tell me to coach the team. I think that's probably how he answered the question. But let's hear how it sounded. This is Todd Bowles and his job security.
I don't think I worry about it at all. It doesn't creep into the locker room. Players play and coaches coach. And I got more years behind me than I do ahead of me. And I think we're in a situation where we're right back in it, and our only focus is to win the ball game.
I could see him getting fired at the end of the year. And not only could I see him getting fired, I honestly, both of those coaches last night should be fired. Raheem Morris, this guy wins like a few games, and every time he celebrates as if he's winning the Super Bowl. He announced basically that the Atlanta Falcons have arrived when they beat the Buffalo Bills. Did you see him last night? He's like taunting the cameras, throw another flag on that and all that stuff. Dude, your football team stinks. Hey, I understand you won a game, but the only way that you're back next year, Raheem Morris, as the head football coach of the Atlanta Falcons is very simply this. It's because Arthur Blank doesn't have the guts to get rid of you. And he for whatever the reason is, he's likes to be buddy-buddy with the coach instead of hiring who should be the best football coach for your football team. But when it comes to Todd Bowles, I don't think that ownership group is going to be complacent. And I think that the majority of the people in that building, in terms of making the decisions, they're not afraid to go swing big. And also, I feel as if the conversation and the narrative around Todd Bowles the last few years has been, he's fine. Yeah, they're winning games. Yeah, you got Baker Mayfield. Yeah, you've consistently been in the playoffs. Like, Todd Bowles has done a good job with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. But you missed the playoffs this year when there's been so many conversations about maybe you not being the guy. That gives you the perfect time. And they could still win the NFC South. But that gives you the perfect time to reset, and maybe they end up going big swinging. And would it shock you? Like, I don't think Belichick is going to be a head coach again in the NFL. But if it's going to be in one place, a lot of people say it's going to be the New York Giants. I would actually say it's Tampa Bay Buccaneers. That would not shock me if they go end up bringing in Bill Belichick, or if maybe they try to get one of these young shot, up-and-coming hot commodity coordinators where Todd Bowles is more defensive-minded head coach and older guy as well. Let's get to Baker Mayfield. He is not happy after blowing the lead to the Atlanta Falcons.
Yeah, we're pissed off. We expected to win that game. We want to win that game. Should be pissed off. And like I said, when you're up 2 scores and your offense has a chance to put the game away and you don't, you can, obviously people are going to blame the defense, but it's not the defense's fault. It's our fault. It's my fault. And that's how I view it, and that's how I'm going to handle it.
I understand him saying it's not the defense's fault and he wants to take ownership being the quarterback, and there are reasons to blame the offense for not protecting the lead. But when it was almost 3rd and 30 and then 4th and 14 or 4th and 15, whatever it was, and you don't get your ass off the field, yeah, that is the defense's fault. Let's go to Ken Carman at 92.3 The Fan. He talks about Baker Mayfield or Shedeur Sanders when it comes to their ceiling.
Whose ceiling is higher, Baker or Sanders? 216-474-0092. Baker or Shedeur?
Well,
who's got the higher ceiling? No, you stay here. You stay here. You're in this box with me, babe. Nuh-uh. No, fine. I'll be a man. I'll face him right off. You don't want to answer the question. He walked out of the room, Kayla. I'll say it right now. How tall is Shedeur?
6'1".
He's not as compact, which means he can do a little. He's a little bit. He seems a little bit longer. Okay, I'm going somewhere with this. He's taken a lot of hits. Now, Oklahoma is Oklahoma, right? What's Colorado before Shedeur Sanders got there? What's Jackson State before Shedeur Sanders got there? If we want to talk about ceilings, I've seen it with Baker.
I mean,
I say Shedeur. I've seen less, which means I hope more, because I've seen it all with Baker. I think Baker's a guy who's going to take you to the playoffs. I don't think he's going to stand there during the national anthem of the Super Bowl.
And that's why they did what they did.
That sounds like a guy that's in denial. I love Ken. Ken is one of my favorite people in this business. But that's almost when you know something's not going to happen and you try to speak it into existence, too, and be as loyal as you can in trying to alter your opinion. I happen to be a fan of Shedeur Sanders, and I understand it does feel like there's limitations on Baker Mayfield, but do I see Shedeur ever getting to a Super Bowl? Like, if that's, I don't see Baker getting to a Super Bowl. Do I see Shedeur ever getting to a Super Bowl? No. And Baker Mayfield has replaced Tom Brady in Tampa Bay, and, we'll see how this year happens, but they've made the playoffs every year in Tampa Bay. I just, like, Baker right now is what? Top 8? Top 9 quarterback in the NFL? I think that's fair. Is Shedeur ever going to be a top 10 quarterback in the NFL? I guess he could. Baker already is. So do I think that the ceiling of Shedeur Sanders is higher than Baker Mayfield? Hot take. Still. No, I do not. Alrighty, more in the news brief here. Let's get to Jamar Chase. We heard Joe Burrow obviously seem unhappy yesterday when he was talking about his future in Cincinnati and just how he's not having fun right now. Jamar Chase doesn't sense Joe Burrow being unhappy, though.
I think when after the Baltimore game, you asked us, like, did you think he was emotional? Because we asked you. It seems like this has kind of really hit him a little bit differently than all the other times. Now, after seeing him for the last few weeks, what do you think?
Y'all know y'all be putting some clues together, boy, I swear. Honestly, nothing's wrong with a little emotion at the end of the day, especially coming back from injury. The man loves the game. I think he loves the game. From what I've learned from him also at the end of the day. You know what I'm saying? So I can't really say what he feels at the end of the day, but from what I see, man, he seems the same every day. Comes to work ready to play, comes to practice, the same guy. He helps me every day. It's no negativity in the building from him. So the narrative that y'all trying to paint on him right now, I don't see it. You know what I'm saying? At the end of the day, he's the same person every day. He comes to work. He loves work. He loves the guys in the locker room, so he's pretty positive.
There's no narratives. We're just asking questions. Just for the mics.
A little bit of narratives. It's okay.
Okay, that's a little bit of a bizarre exchange. The quarterback basically said he wasn't happy, so I don't really see what the pushback is right there. Let me get to Cam Newton. He was on his 4th and 1 podcast, and he's upset. Oh, cry me a river. Call me shocked by this one. Cam is upset that the Colts called Phillip Rivers and not him. Okay, listen up.
Andy, if they call.
Hell yeah. It's almost like a slap in my face, bro.
All the things that you do in the media, do you come off like you're available? Well, state the case then, bro.
Did Phillip Rivers send any type of signs that he was available? Why you asking me to do something that everybody else didn't do? I ain't no lab rat. Come on, bro.
You still are available.
Have you?
He's retired. You ain't even retired yet.
I did not and will not because of an opportunity like this.
He also was in their system, but still, like.
I don't give a damn if he was in their family. He's 44 years old, bro.
You got
How do
grandkids.
people hold Cam Newton to a standard that you're not holding everybody else?
Cam, did you say that you were still available? Cam, you're retired.
So did Phillip. But I know when it comes with me, the personality, bro.
Who watches that hit? I'm being serious. Who watches that stuff? Like, I don't think Phillip Rivers should be playing for the Colts. He retired in 2020. Cam stopped getting opportunities in 2021. Phillip Rivers also knows the head football coach. And Cam, let's be real, you stunk at the end. You were bad in 2020 with the Patriots. I remember you fumbled the game away up against the Bills. You were bad in Carolina outside of that game with the Arizona Cardinals in your last run, your last go at it, your return in Carolina. Phillip Rivers, say what you want about him. He took the Colts to the playoffs that year in 2020. So do I think that Phillip Rivers should be getting another opportunity? No. But if you made me pick broken Cam Newton or old Phillip Rivers, I would still go old Phillip Rivers over a guy that simply just couldn't cut it anymore for the last 2 times that we saw him play with the Indianapolis Colts and then also with the Carolina Panthers. But that's Cam. Like, here's the reality with Cam. Ron Rivera was your head football coach in Carolina. When Ron was with the Commanders or the Redskins, whatever we called them back then, he didn't want to bring you in. So why would anyone else want to bring you in the year of 2025? Zach Gelb here with you on the Infinity Sports Network. It's about to get loud in here. It's not just because I'm coming on back in 5 minutes. I'm one loud SOB. Brian Jones is going to join us. BJ next right here on the Infinity Sports Network.
You're in a 5-minute break. Four minutes, 30 seconds remaining. 4 minutes remaining. Three minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Three minutes remaining. Two minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Two minutes remaining. One minute, 30 seconds remaining. One minute remaining. Forty-five seconds remaining. Seconds remaining. Fifteen seconds. Break ends in 5 seconds.
To infinity and beyond.
He's live. He's nationwide. This is the Zach Gelb Show. Here's your host, Zach Gelb.
Alrighty, hour number 3 of our radio program. It is the Zach Gelb Show, coast to coast at USAA Army Navy Radio Row, live in Baltimore. And now joining us, he is one of our favorites, obviously, former CBS Sports Radio host. Brian Jones messing up everything. What are you doing?
You ain't one of my favorites. Follow.
Oh, nice to see you too.
Yeah.
Oh my God. Why are you in such a bad mood today?
This is what radio are we on?
CBS. Well, it used to be CBS Sports Radio. Now it's called Infinity Sports Network.
This ain't CBS Sports anymore. What happened?
No, long story. I'll get to that with you off the air. Yeah.
So I can curse?
No, you still can't curse.
Oh, man.
This is not like when you used to go to Chris Moore to Westville and eat a lot of swine and drink a lot.
Who told you about that?
I have eyes everywhere, my friend. And of course, you guys did that after the show. You would never do it before the show.
No. That was a Friday tradition before the show.
Yeah, I know that. I was just trying to give you an out here.
Oh, hell no. We don't need no outs. We keep it real.
So I heard about that, and when I got brought over to do the 6 to 10 p.m. Eastern time shift, I said, oh, should we carry the tradition? And management was like, yeah, you guys aren't going to be doing that.
How did management know? They didn't know. Somebody snitched.
Here's the thing. You have people in the building. You know what it's like to be in a radio station.
Snitches. Haters.
People talk.
Yeah.
So that just kind of became a thing.
Much.
So anytime I go to Westville, like for 2 years, I would just send you and Chris texts and just be like, here's the bacon, here's the drinks, and all that stuff. So when you started the morning show, when you were doing, so you came to the network with Chris, and you guys were doing 6 to 10 p.m. Eastern time. Then they ended up giving you mornings with Gio. What was it, 6 to 9 a.m.?
Yep.
What was going through your mind the first time you met Greg Giannotti?
Oh, boy. Oh, man. Earmuffs. Man. Very talented. That was going through my mind. The next thing was, this motherfucker crazy. That was probably the second thing. He was a nut, but he was great. He was. I loved working with G, and it takes a while. It's like entering a new locker room with new teammates, and it takes a minute for everyone to get their footing and understand not necessarily their role, but how they flow with their teammate. And so it took us a minute, but it got to the point where I thought it was great, and I look back on some of those memories. There's some of my fondest memories in this industry working with that knucklehead because he has such a creative mind.
And obviously, right, he got the national gig, but he always wanted to do the show on WFAN, and then you had the Craig arrest, during that time. Do you remember that day?
Yeah.
Because then it was like, oh, probably Gio was going to get the job, right?
I remember all that, and I would go sit in on that show from time to time.
Oh, yeah, that's right. They had you fill in, right?
Yeah, and after our show, I would go do the last hour. They didn't give me no last hour money, but
surprised.
Yeah. But yeah, it was pretty well known that Gio he coveted that spot. He grew up listening to the fan, and so it was in his DNA, man. He so he got it, and he and I actually would do draft shows on the fan from time to time over the years that we worked together, and so it just made it fluid and seamless and made sense.
So I think there's a lot of stories from your time here.
Yeah.
And there's just someone, I think it's like a Paul Rosenberg or Chris Lopresti. There's just there's a file. And there's just certain audio clips that just get shared throughout the years.
No.
The Bob Huggins prank phone call.
Oh, that bastard. He got me with that. Oh, my goodness.
So if the story goes right, I guess you had some critical remarks about West Virginia, like not making the tourney or something, or like maybe their first round game or something like that.
He made it all up.
Oh, okay.
So we were doing this interview supposedly with
Bob Huggins,
and I guess it was Gio doing it.
I think it was he hired his friend.
Yes,
he told his friend to impersonate Bob Huggins.
To do it. I still remember, like I'm sitting at my table at home now in Weehawken, New Jersey, when we did the interview.
And you guys were cursing at one another.
Yes.
You were going at it.
He was challenging my sorry record as an NFL player, and I was challenging him.
That's amazing. And then the other thing, I don't know if you know this, you would always do an interview with Ack for the Eye on Football show.
Yes.
And there was one day that for some reason the board was connected to WFAN during your interview. And afterwards, they found out that, okay, it was routing to the production closet room, and it was Brian Jones's interview with Rich Ackerman. And Ack goes, that's the first time in the 10 weeks I've been doing this interview with Brian Jones that he didn't curse before we went on the air.
Right.
Because that was when it was just going. They're like, oh, it's only a matter of time before BJ starts cursing.
Each Saturday prior to me going on CBS for our college stuff. And the one time I did, thank you, God. Thank you.
He was broadcasting all over WFAN. That happened to me once. I was interviewing David Andrews of the Patriots at the time, and they said just go into this room and record it, and the Brooklyn Nets were playing, and the board, I guess, was live, and they didn't think it was live, so you hear my interview over Carino and Capstraw at the same time. Yeah, Robbie. Do you remember Robbie Rosenhaus?
No.
A big dude. And he,
I remember Robbie.
But he was graceful on his feet, and he
Yep.
came like tiptoeing into the studio, and then found a way to just get me off their board, so it wasn't going over the Brooklyn Nets basketball. Which, like, let's be real, 7 people are listening to the Nets anyway.
I need to go back over and listen to all my old clips, man.
Well, there's one more.
Uh-oh.
Well, this one was actually very funny.
All right.
Your interviews with Ann Ligori. You don't remember these
I
with
remember
the
Ann.
story and the whispering and the intro. It was good stuff.
The funniest, though, was me and Chris Moore at the draft. Well, there were 2 draft stories. Gio and I had one, but Chris Moore and I, we were at Radio Music City Hall.
Mm-hmm.
And I forget the guy. He came up to announce the Colts draft pick. And he said, with the such and such pick, in the such and such NFL draft, the Indiana Colts draft so-and-so from Illinois. Chris looked at me, I looked at Chris, and it was over. I'm sorry, it may sound trivial, but the dude said Illinois.
Instead of Illinois, yeah.
We just lost it. Find that clip.
You know, you two snobs,
Yes,
I don't think you'd be killing
elitists.
someone for saying Illinois.
Yes, we're elitists, damn it. And that clip is hilarious. And then Gio and I had one on WFAN. We done all our draft work in this, and then the Packers came up, and they drafted DB. I think he was from Arizona State. And he and I had we didn't know what to say about the two. So we just kept repeating the cat's name and when he was picked, and it was.
So they had me do that draft show. I think it was for 3 or 4 years.
Mm-hmm.
And I would always tell Bogusch, I'm like, we got to get a perfect game, because they'd always do their draft capsule. So, like, if so-and-so was drafted, you know, Joe LSU, Heisman Trophy winning quarterback, national champion, like, and give a bunch of stats. Anytime, and I know he's here, anytime Mike Mayock was drafting with the Raiders, it was always like, what the F did they just do?
Oh.
And he drafted Damon Arnett one year, and they didn't have it. And actually you would send us your guy at CBS who would give us all the notes.
Right, yeah.
And CBS didn't even have a note on Damon Arnett, so we're sitting there and we're like, Damon Arnett, yeah, this is a questionable draft pick. We had no clue about the guy.
That was similar to me and Gio, man. And it happens, and you just have to somehow find a way to get through it on live television. But that Illinois, find that clip.
Okay.
It is the funniest. That one of my proudest moments.
Year one as the full-time starter, Arch Manning, how do you kind of look back at it?
Man, I was really shocked and taken aback with his early production. Ohio State not able to execute rudimentary throws. I was like, wow. And I watched this kid, and I had to apply a lot of Heisman pressure onto him. Yeah, you got to come in and get your feet wet, but he should be able to execute a throw in the flat. And he was just trying too hard. And then he finally got his feet under him. So I'd give him, especially the way he ended the season, I'd give him a B. Yeah.
What do you think he could be next year? Because the pressure will always be there, but I don't know how much people are going to really take the bait this year, because everyone hyped him up so much a season ago, and then he didn't perform the way that we thought. So I just wonder, what do you think he could still get to next year, or maybe the noise around him is quieter?
I think what you'll see, because the noise was still there even when he started playing better. I think you're going to see a guy that's confident in his ability. And we saw that, man. I saw the Arch that I'd seen just small sample sizes of over the last couple of years, but the dual threat ability, the ball was on point, climbing the pocket, the little idiosyncrasies that go along with playing that position, he was finding those once again. I think he's it's through the roof. His ceiling is so high, man. I think he'll be back in the Heisman conversation. He won't be the front runner, possibly, but he's going to be back in the conversation because he ended on a good accord.
I'll put you on the hot seat right now, Brian Jones.
Think I'm scared of the hot seat?
Who's going to be the next head football coach at Michigan?
Anthony Lynn.
Really?
Anthony Lynn or Jesse Minter, who is the DC at
with the Chargers.
They would have to wait because he's got a show cause.
Mm-hmm.
But do they want to go back that route? Here's why I say Coach Lynn. Coach Lynn aligns with their ground and pound strategy. That's the Michigan way. They want to run the rock. That's what he did when he got the Chargers to the playoffs. What he also will do is bring his son, Danton Lynn, who is the DC at USC. Danton Lynn comes from the Baltimore Ravens defensive tree. Jesse Minter, Baltimore Ravens. Wink Martindale, Baltimore Ravens. So you don't really have to overhaul your defensive scheme if you could get that father-son team to come to Michigan. The father aligns with your run schemes. The son aligns completely with what you do on defense currently.
You think Bryce Underwood will stay?
Depends on who the head coach is, I believe. Going to depend on who they are targeting as head coach. But and I say Coach Lynn again because of the NFL connection. College football is NFL now, and you're shelling out dollars. You in this NIL world, and so I think you bring in someone who understands that, and I would bring him in at least to have a conversation because there is great alignment in the historical way Michigan has done things from an offensive standpoint.
When you look at college football this year, Brian Jones, who do you think is the best team in the country?
Indiana. And they proved that beating Ohio State in the manner in which they did. Now, Ohio State's still there, I would say 1B. But I'm picking Indiana to win the whole thing. Man, I hate for this kid, Daly, who was playing so well.
Yeah, got hurt.
What did he do in the celebration? I didn't see it.
I think he was just jumping up to high-five
well,
fans.
Freaking jump.
Come on, you high-fiving fans?
Damn,
I know you're disrespectful to your fans, but he's not. Yeah.
Athlete, how you get hurt? It's like the Mets pitcher that
Oh,
time.
Edwin Diaz. Well, he's
What
no
was
longer
that?
the Mets
that
pitcher.
Was the
World Baseball Classic.
Yeah,
it's Fugazi World Baseball Classic.
I like the World Baseball Classic. You know,
no, not when it ends your season before it even starts. When the pitcher gets hurt.
Well, y'all season ended a long time ago.
Yeah, that's true.
Go Yankees. What was your question?
What about the,
Who's gonna win it?
Yeah,
Indiana. I think Indiana wins it, man. They are a physical, tough football team. So I like when I saw Mendoza was coming over. I'd seen some of his games and graded his film a season ago. First, especially the Miami film, they almost knocked off the Canes and Cam Ward, but he elevated the quarterback position. But everything else was in place. Reason why I think Pavia should win the Heisman, not Mendoza, because Mendoza came and, made the quarterback play, took it to another level. Pavia came in 2 years ago, and he infused that entire program, that entire campus. He gave them swagger. He gave them confidence. He gave them production. And everything he did on the field this year, he's in that Joe Burrow league, except for maybe, throwing for 4,000 yards, but leading the SEC and yardage and passing TDs and that infectious style and flair that he has. He infused that locker room with all that. He impacted that whole institution. That's Heisman worthy.
And I would like to see Indiana play Georgia in the national championship.
Oh, yeah.
That's what I've wanted all year.
That's who I have.
The best of the Big Ten against the best of the SEC.
I have Indiana and Georgia playing in the championship.
Okay, let me ask you this before we let you run. The college football playoff and how they got there, I thought the reasoning and the math just never mathed up to me, and I'm not a great math guy. But with it being Alabama and Miami, I could understand how they put those two teams in.
I can't. It's bull dookie. The reason they put those teams in there because they got strong-armed by the SEC and that other big pocket of untapped air, that bald-headed dude down south. You shouldn't be able to get strong-armed by commissioners and leagues. But each and every year the CFP tramples upon its own precedents. Number one data point, head-to-head, right?
Mm-hmm.
There's no way Miami should have been behind Notre Dame at any point in the season until they lost the third game.
Yep.
That's when you put them behind. And then try to creep them back up just so they're in position to now where you can overtake Notre Dame. That's dumb. And on this conference championship stuff, play in the damn game or don't play in the game. But don't tell me if you lose, it shouldn't matter.
It seems like it only matters if you win, not if you lose. But then yet again,
Can't have it both ways.
Georgia won their conference championship, and they didn't move up to 2. Instead, it was Ohio State that just fell down 1 spot. That's where it makes no sense to me.
Bama loses -3 yards in rushing, and they stay at 9.
Should have dropped down at least 1 spot.
Thank you. Give me something.
Yeah, and then they would have
Even
compared.
though that wouldn't have been enough.
Yeah,
but
because Bama still would have got in over Miami.
It's stupid.
Yeah.
Dumb. It's
If
nonsensical.
If I made you the commissioner of college football and Brian Jones can make the playoff the way that he wants it, how would you make the playoff?
I want to expand to at least 16, and I'm not opposed to 24. And what I would do, so we won't have this mess around conference championships, get rid of them, we'll have a play-in game. So, Bama, how about this? You play Tulane or you play JMU, whoever wins that gets into the playoffs. So I want to do that. I want a CBA because I want binding contracts so I don't have kids hopping around after they get my money, going off here and there. Troy Aikman just said, hey, I took part NIL. Look what happened. I ain't doing it no more.
Yeah, and I'm sure if you were the commissioner of college football, too, you would automatically have Texas in each and every year.
No. I didn't like the fact that our head coach was running around campaigning and saying, threatening the duck competition in the future. That's bull dookie, man. We're Texas. We don't run from competition. You went 9-3. You made that bed. You have to lie in that. Clark Lee handled it the best at Vanderbilt.
I agree. We'll play someone this weekend,
10-2. We had our chance. We didn't get it done. That's it. So don't cry about your schedule. Ohio State's not crying because they won the game. And you shouldn't be crying. We're going to duck competition. We look like some wimps. Little whiny. I can't say that on Infinity Radio.
No, you can't.
What can I say?
You could say hello. You could say goodbye because we got to say goodbye to you, I think.
That's it?
Yeah. Thank you.
That ain't no fun. What about them other words?
Bull crap.
Oh, that's too white for me.
Okay. Hogwash. I'll go even whiter for you.
Yeah, you would even. No, go the other
We'll get in a
way.
kerfuffle. Is that good?
How about we
Jackassery? Jackassery is a good one of mine.
We can go old Sam Huff back in those old NFL films before you were even born. If you do that again, I'm going to sock you one.
Okay, how about just get the F out of here? Does that
How
work?
about I'll just get the F out of here, dude?
You know what? I'll get him really mad. Horns down.
You
mother father.
I'm going to kick your ass.
Alrighty, it is the Zach Gelb Show on the
This is about to turn into Jim Everett
It'd be a
and
good
Jim
headline.
Rome.
It'd be a good headline.
Me kicking your ass?
Well, I think I'd kick your ass, honestly.
You think you got me?
Yeah.
Let me see. Yeah. Oh, damn. You had the flexes.
Yeah. You got to pump up the guns. I got to inflate him.
You are crazy.
He's Brian
I
Jones.
can't stand him. I hate him, America.
Tim Pernetti going to join us next. Coming on back.
Tim's still here?
Yeah, we're coming on back.
You're in a 5-minute break. Four minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Four minutes remaining. Three minutes, 30 seconds remaining. 3 minutes remaining. Two minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Two minutes remaining. One minute, 30 seconds remaining. One minute remaining. Forty-five seconds remaining. Thirty seconds remaining. Fifteen seconds. Break ends in 5 seconds.
This is the Zach Gelb Show on the Infinity Sports Network.
All right, welcome back in. It is Zach Gelb Show, coast to coast on the Infinity Sports Network. We are here live in Baltimore, getting you set for Army-Navy Radio Row. And now joining us is the commissioner of the American Athletic Conference, and that, of course, is Tim Pernetti. Commissioner, appreciate it. How are you?
Good to be with you. You were reminiscing about years ago when you were a student. So, yeah, it's great to be with you, Zach.
Yeah, no, I think the last time I had you on the air, I was a student at Temple University.
And look at you now in your Apollo Creed blazer that you're wearing.
Now I'm Mr. America.
That's right.
Let's start off because, obviously, me being a Temple guy, I love the American Athletic Conference. For you to have Tulane in the playoff, what does that mean to you?
Well, first things first, a little housekeeping. It's just the American.
The American, they changed it.
Okay, so I'm going to waive your fine because I haven't seen you in a long time. It's great, and it's not. People are like, "Wow, are you surprised?" Of course, I'm not surprised. A year ago, Tulane and Army were both tracking, and Memphis was tracking towards the CFP in November, and this year between Navy, North Texas, Tulane, Memphis, East Carolina, everybody was coming at once for this thing. So we're really happy for Tulane. They have made some really smart investments in athletics there. And John Sumrall's a different guy. It breaks my heart a little bit that he's leaving because I've become so close with John personally. But I think what's a really important story to tell is that John Sumrall took a huge job, but he's finishing the job at Tulane. And that's not a decision a lot of coaches are really willing to make. Once they make the decision they're going to leave, they typically go. And I'm not criticizing anybody that does. Like, every circumstance is different.
Lane Kiffin.
I didn't say anything. But John was very adamant about, like, it's okay to take a job and finish the job. I was there Friday night for our championship, naturally, handed out the trophy. I saw Tulane 4 times this year. They didn't play better all year than they did Friday night. Think about the dynamic. Your coach is leaving, you know that, but he's stuck with you, and they're playing at a high level right now. So I'm excited about the game. I'm excited to wear green and root for one team, because at the conference games you can't take a side. It's very frustrating.
You know, I always used to have these debates with the Temple Owls football fans when they used to go from Matt Rule to Jeff Collins, and then Manny Diaz was there for about 17 days, and people go, do you want a coach that could be there for 10 to 15 years, or is a stepping stone job okay? And I said, just as long as you keep on winning and you build up that credibility, I'm fine in what college football is. And Casey Keeler seems different. I don't think he's ever going to leave Temple till they tell him to leave. But I'm fine with some schools just being stepping stones, because that means you keep on winning, and the bigger conferences, they want a piece of your coach.
And these guys are adult professionals, right? It's like saying to someone, you're the head of marketing at Pepsi. Mm-hmm. How could you possibly even think about taking the CEO job at Coca-Cola? What? Like, you aspire to achieve. And if you're a competitive person, that's what you do. And that's the way this thing is. Like, there's jobs, they start as GAs, and then they become position coaches, they become coordinators, they become head coaches. And if they have success, they have opportunities beyond that. Like, I think it's fine for this. For us personally, everybody started the doom and gloom. Oh, you got 3 coaches going to the SEC and one going to the Big 12. And you probably saw what we did. Like, we celebrated it. We thanked our coaches for helping us build this league. We celebrate them moving forward. Like, Eric Morris at North Texas coached Friday night.
Yep.
And had they made the CFP, he'd still be coaching. Like, we have coaches that see the big picture and are willing to finish the job. But stepping stone, whatever you want to call it, guy does a good job and gets promoted. Like, don't distinguish between a coach doing that and someone doing that in a corporation. But it's college football. It evokes passion in people where it's like, you're either with me or you're against me. So you're leaving to go to that school across the street, you're dead to me. But that is what makes college football so great. It's just what the passion it evokes in people.
I remember when Mike Oresco was the commissioner, it was the Power Six.
The P6.
And that was the goal. The American wanted to be the premier non-Power 5 conference in the sport. Is that still the goal of the American? Like, if you ask me, what's the vision, what's the goal of the American, talking to the commissioner, Tim Pernetti, it is what?
We already are that conference. I think, Mike did an unbelievably good job. He really did, because Mike, when he took the job, this is some irony, I was athletic director at Rutgers when Mike got the job to succeed John Marinato as commissioner of the Big East Conference.
Yeah.
And then West Virginia left for the Big 12, and Pitt and Syracuse left for the ACC. Notre Dame did their ACC deal. We took Rutgers to the Big Ten. And within all that chaos, the American Athletic Conference in the origin was born, now the American Conference. Mike led a league through constant chaos for 14 years. That league saw so many versions of itself, but his campaign, his unapologetic P6 campaign, was done remarkably well. We have chosen to just line up and play. And this year we proved that we're the premier conference at that level. And, I don't get caught up in group of 6, autonomy, group of 5. I think the media made this crap up. I really do. But we're trying to be the best we can possibly be. But we closed the gap significantly this year. So I'm not going to tell people what they already seem to know.
Well, what do you say to some people? Because, right, you have 2 G5, whatever you want to call it, G6 schools that are in the college football playoff, Tulane and James Madison. And hey, the irony of people saying this, they don't even realize last year there was no G5 team in the first round. Boise had a bye, and most of those games ended up stinking. But a lot of people go, James Madison's not going to be able to hang. Tulane, we already saw Tulane Ole Miss. They're not going to be able to hang. What do you say to people that won't even give Tulane a shot coming up next weekend?
Hot take. I really think that's what it is, because how do you know? The result could be that the games aren't competitive, but your revenue share budget for your roster at Ole Miss can be much higher than the one at Tulane. But guess what? You have to line up and play the game. And who's going to turn it over? Who's going to make a big play when they need it? Like, who's going to make a kick when you don't know any of this stuff. The data supports what a lot of people are predicting, but why do we love the NCAA tournament? Because a school from up the street near where I grew up in New Jersey, Fairleigh Dickinson, can go to the Sweet 16. That's why we love the NCAA tournament. Cinderellas matter. And in a case like this, I'm convinced that Cinderella is what Tulane and James Madison reviewed. Having said that, Tulane's the 4th highest ranked conference champion, head of the ACC. So I don't want to hear about it anymore. They've earned it in a merit-based system, and I would argue that the system is working.
If I could say, Tim Pernetti, you get to pick what the next college football playoff format looks like, but you got to be fair about it. What do you think the next college football playoff format should look like?
I think the current setup is the right setup, where there is no slot assigned to anybody. Because, like, the fans still, I think, maybe need to understand this. The 5 highest-ranked conference champions, it doesn't mean that the SEC, the Big Ten, the Big 12, the ACC get 1 and the G5 shares.
Yeah.
It doesn't mean that. It means the 5 highest ranked. Look at this year. James Madison's 1, Tulane is 1, the ACC is not 1. I like that system because championship games still matter. You have the opportunity to earn something if you win your championship game and you're ranked. And then you have an at-large system which allows for anybody anywhere to play into it. Should it be the 12 it's at? We only have 1 year of data to really tell us if that's working or not, which it did last year. This year we'll have 2. Is it 14? Where you add more at-large spots? Is it 16, more at-large spots? So long as it preserves conference championships mattering and the at-large component where anything is possible, I would be on the side of having that conversation.
I think it would be interesting. I don't want to go to 16 right away. Heck, I didn't really want to go from 4 to 12, but maybe they do a play-in tournament, like 11 plays 14, 12 plays 13. So if you have a year like this year where some people think a Notre Dame should go, they still have a chance to play themselves in. You know, I'm wondering if that's going to be something that could be on the table.
I think everything's on the table, which is good. I think it's important that all 10 of us in the commissioner's room are open-minded to anything, right? There can't be self-serving, preconceived formats that benefit some at the cost of others. I just don't believe that that's the right way. At the end of the day, going in a room for a CFP meeting is hard. Right? Because I can't fully check at the door that I'm not going to stop and think about the American Conference. And neither can any of my colleagues. But our job in those meetings is to put college football at the center of the table and protect and defend it and make sure we're positioning it for success in the future. And everybody needs to remember that.
So when you move into the future of college football, people are always trying to figure out what this is going to look like, how many conferences there are going to be. There's been some suggestions like, hey, maybe it should just be the Power 4 teams that play in their playoff, and then all the non-Power 4 teams play in their own playoff. I'm assuming that's something that you would want no part of, right?
I think these concepts of super leagues are bad for the sport because it creates a dividing line. I would argue we need to go in the other direction, which is keeping all 130-something FBS institutions in the same ecosystem. Because here's the reality. The group of 5 being healthy is important to the autonomy conferences. Why? Scheduling, talent, just look at the transfer portal, coaches. I think those things are important. And we understand, we've been the most rated conference in America the last couple of years at the American. Why? We're overflowing with talent. So we understand that dynamic is there. We understand we have great coaching talent and we're bringing new talent in and that we're going to have some transition there. But I would argue that the health of the group of 6 is important to the autonomy conferences because of how it helps them grow their enterprise. But the idea of super league, under, I'm not about that. College football is college football. Kid at Tulane's not trying less hard to win the national championship than a kid at Indiana or at Ohio State. That's just not a thing. But I would not vote for that type of setup because I think it's bad for the sport.
The scheduling, there's so many different opinions on this. It would be nice, though, and I appreciate what John Summerall's been able to do. I appreciate what Eric Moore's been able to do, that there's just not a window allowed where you could go take another job before the season ends. It would be nice if the hiring cycle could line up after the season really ends.
I agree, and the only thing that stands in the way of that is the enrollment calendar. Really is, right? Because pro sports, it's all set up that way. Super Bowl's over, coaches move, free agency, line up and let's play next season. But you have kids starting the second semester. Now, I think schools can enroll kids into the semester rather than there being a drop-dead date. But that's a real obstacle. It's not something to roll your eyes at. But that would be ideal where it's the season is over. Or maybe the compromise is when that coach's season is over.
Sure.
Right? I played a bowl game December 17th. We win the game. My season's over. So once your competitive season over, you coached your last game, you're free to go, including guys that don't make bowl games, right? So they could start even earlier. So we have to get into the calendar in the offseason and talk about this. We're holding student athletes accountable to a calendar. And with coaches, while they're adult professionals, we do have to create some structure so it doesn't create chaos. Like what John Summerall's doing and what Eric Morris did, I think set an important example for everybody. That's like, even in this cycle, it's okay to take a job and finish the job.
Last thing I'll ask you is Tim Pernetti here with us, the commissioner of the American Conference. Just the game coming up on Saturday, Army-Navy, obviously it means so much, means a ton to you. Just kind of give us what it means to you and put it into words.
Yeah, the Army-Navy game is more than football to me. And I was lucky. I got to play against Army and Navy when I played at Rutgers in college. And I think initially you line up and you're like, it's a football game. You got to line up, you want to win the game. And then I remember standing next to an Army player my sophomore year during the alma mater, and then a Navy player during my junior year during the alma mater, and realizing that I just fought a guy to the end of this game that actually signed up for a lifestyle in where he chose to protect me in the future, not just play on a football team. This game, if this game doesn't make you feel proud to live in this country, then I don't know what does. I honestly think you probably should move out. Army-Navy is more than football. It's a representation of all that is good, and it's a representation of what the high bar is for commitment and sacrifice. I spoke to the Navy team at practice this summer. Coach Newberry asked me while I was in town. And I wasn't sure. I got put on the spot, so I wasn't sure what to say. But what I said to them was, college sports is moving away from commitment. And in a world like that, you are the high bar because you have chosen something beyond your 4 years of playing college football. And even when I walked away, I thought to myself, those kids need to hear that because they're committed beyond this sport. And I think that should make us proud of whether you're a football fan or not. Army-Navy is important in this country.
Commissioner, thanks so much.
Good to see you again, man.
Yep,
I can't wait to see what jacket you're going to wear next time we do this.
Probably the same one, honestly.
So,
there he
man.
is.
Good to see you.
We'll take a timeout. Come on back after these short messages.
Infinity Sports Network Sports Flash.
One of college football's longest tenured coaches is stepping down. Kyle Whittingham announced he's leaving Utah after 21 seasons and 177 victories, the most in school history. His final game will be the Las Vegas Bowl. He took over back in 2004 when Urban Meyer left for Florida. Former Michigan coach Sharon Moore is facing charges of third-degree home invasion, stalking, and breaking and entering. The 39-year-old was fired earlier in the week for an inappropriate relationship with a staff member. TJ Watt likely to miss Monday's game will miss Monday's game against the Dolphins after having surgery for a partially collapsed lung. He is expected to return this year. J.C. Horn returns for the Panthers, cleared from concussion protocol, while the Bengals' T. Higgins has yet to be cleared. Geno Smith is out for the Raiders, so it's Kenny Pickett starting against his former team. Jalen Carter and Lane Johnson will also be out for the Eagles in that one. UConn will host Texas, looking to make it 10 wins in the first 11 games. The fifth-ranked Huskies loaded up their non-conference schedule with 5 ranked opponents and have gone 4-1 in those games. The Pistons go for win number 20 tonight against the Hawks, and the Royals have signed Gold Glove third baseman Michael Garcia to a 5-year deal. Number check.
You're in a 5-minute break. Four minutes, 30 seconds remaining. 4 minutes remaining. Three minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Three minutes remaining. Two minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Two minutes remaining. One minute, 30 seconds remaining. One minute remaining. Forty-five seconds remaining. Seconds remaining. Fifteen seconds. Break ends in 5 seconds.
Hey, this is Howie. And this is Nick. We're the Backstreet Boys, and you're listening to the Zach Gelb Show. And guess what? Zach is back. All right.
He's live. He's nationwide. This is the Zach Gelb Show.
Oh, my God, we're back again.
All righty, welcome back in. It is the Zach Gelb Show, coast to coast on the Infinity Sports Network here live, USA Army Navy Radio Row. So earlier today, the news broke that Utah already named a coach in waiting before the season started, that their head football coach, Kyle Whittingham, is stepping down. He announced he will coach in the Las Vegas Bowl. So a lot of us, including yours truly, just assumed, okay, that's retirement, right? If you're going to have a coach in waiting, and if you're going to say that you're stepping down at the end of the season, or you're going to finish his bowl game, that would be it. Well, now reports are emerging that he will consider other jobs. So Stuart Mandel, who covers college football for, I believe, The Athletic, he had this out. Let me just pull it up right here as I just switched screens and lost it for a second. Whittingham is not retiring and could seek other coaching opportunities, a source tells The Athletic. Where is Kyle Whittingham going? Does he maybe say, I'll take the Michigan gig for a year? I don't know if that's even on the table. But with how late in the process Michigan is, do you just bring in a respectable guy like a Kyle Whittingham for a year, see if it works? Obviously, he's ready for another job and a bigger job if he wants it. Do you want to bring someone in that's in their mid-60s? That's another thing. I don't know. But him walking away from Utah and you're promoting from within, that's one thing. But I'm a little bit surprised here, Stu, that this is not just a retirement, and he's at least going to be willing to listen to other jobs, and maybe you just take a year off, you refresh the batteries, and then boom, away you go a year from now, and you try to go somewhere else and maybe end up going to a smaller program with Utah now being in the Big 12. And you say to yourself that you go elsewhere and you get back to coaching just football because when you're in the Power 4 conferences now, it's all about NIL, 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 and maybe you go to a smaller school where obviously all schools have to pay their players, but it's not to the extent that you're usually dealing with it in a Power 4 conference.
Yeah, it makes sense. I am surprised, though. I thought this was, when he was done at Utah, he would be done with anything, whether that's Division I, Division II, that doesn't matter. I thought that would be the case. But to your point, yeah, I mean, he's not in his 70s. You know what I mean? Like, he's not old, right?
Yeah.
Like, he could still coach. I think he's done a really nice job with that program. Even the last few years, he's done a really nice job. So the fact, I think he could still coach. So if he wants to still coach, good for him, and he should do it.
Now, this is pretty good. Ralph Russo, who joins us quite a few times in the college football season, at the Heisman News Conference, a reporter told Diego Pavia that Mississippi State cornerback, former Mississippi State cornerback Fred Smoot, once said of a Vandy wide receiver, "If you do my homework, I'll let you catch a pass." That's what he ended up saying in a game once many years ago. Pavia's response, now at Vanderbilt, we'll do your homework and kick your ass. How about that from Diego Pavia? And Brian Jones said that he thinks Diego Pavia should win the Heisman Trophy. So you got Diego Pavia, Fernando Mendoza, Jeremiah Love, and Julian Sayin. Who do you think, Stu, is going to win the Heisman Trophy?
I think it is going to be Mendoza, based off of what he did on Saturday night. I know they didn't score a ton of points, but if you beat the team like in Ohio State like he did in the season that he's had, I think he will win. Yes.
Now, in the voting this year, the ballots usually are made available a week in advance of the conference championship games. They weren't made available until conference championship Saturday at 5 p.m. Eastern time. So I think a lot of people walked into the Big Ten championship game, which was at night, saying it was probably going to be Julian Sayin or Fernando Mendoza. Obviously, you had the SEC championship play on out. There could be some love for Gunnar Stockton, who was in the top 10, but not in the, not a finalist in New York City. So I think for most people, it was between Sayin and Mendoza going into the Big Ten championship game. My question is, though, and obviously he's in the top 4, but how far did Sayin go? Because if Ohio State would have won that game, he probably wins the Heisman Trophy. And Julian Sayin's numbers have been phenomenal this year, but who really did Ohio State play? And he had that statement up against Michigan in a national audience, and then in the Big Ten championship game, he just did not play well. So I'll be curious, in a year where it's kind of been a little bit flat in the Heisman Trophy, as someone that is a voter, and I know how I voted, I can't reveal how I voted, but I'll be curious, did a lot of people still keep him second or third on the ballot, or did they just drop him off completely? And I could see a lot of people leaving Sayin off the ballot if you have Pavia, who didn't play last weekend, and Jeremiah Love, who didn't play last weekend, also finalists. So clearly he got enough of the votes to still be a top 4, but I wonder, obviously Sayin's not going to win the award. I'd be surprised if he's 2, if I'm just being honest. But if he's going to be rather 3 or 4, would be interesting.
I was just going to say the same thing. I think Pavia will be second, and I think the interesting thing will be who is third and who is fourth between Love and Sayin.
What would your guess be?
I think it'll be Sayin third. I think Love getting hurt against Stanford in that last game early on and really not having that last kind of moment to kind of, put his stamp on. Not that I think he was going to win or anything like that, but I think he could have. I think if he would have had a big game against Stanford, I think he would have finished third. But I think because of that, I think he'll finish fourth, slightly behind Sayin.
All right, it's time to answer Ask the Pros question of the day, brought to you by O'Reilly Auto Parts. We go to Raymond in Tennessee, who says, Zach, with Army versus Navy tomorrow, what is one sporting event that you haven't been to that you want to go to in your future? And also, by the way, you can submit a question by tweeting at INFSportsNet or at Zach Gelb, ZACHGELB, using the hashtag #AskThePros. Think O'Reilly Auto Parts for all your car care needs. Get guaranteed low prices and excellent customer service from the professional parts people at O'Reilly Auto Parts. O'Reilly Auto Parts. I've been fortunate to go to a ton of Super Bowls. I've been to the Final Four. I've been to Stanley Cup playoff games. I've been to NBA playoff games. I would say there's 2 events that I think are on my bucket list. One I think is easily attainable to go to. The other, you're just at the odds of a lottery. I would say just going to a game at Lambeau Field is something that I want to do. I would like to go to legendary Lambeau Field. That's one stadium I've somehow not been to that I would like to go to. The other one would be going to the Masters. And I have done the lottery the last 3 years, and I've been rejected every time in the lottery. My buddy, his name's also Zach. He's a teacher out in the West Coast in the Washington area. And he applied his first year for the Masters. It was two years ago, and he got it. And that's a cool event. And sometimes golf live isn't the most fun. Like when I went to Waste Management with Perloff and Sully, my buddy Jared, and I think that was it. We were in like a hospitality tent. Also, the Waste Management is basically like a frat party on the golf course. So that was really cool. But just the tradition of going to Augusta, and they don't let you bring your phone in. They take a photo of you right outside the clubhouse, and then they send it to you. Just to be disconnected from the world and be in a traditional, like a place there that has so much tradition and aura, I think would be very cool, even if you aren't the biggest golf fan. Is there one sporting event that's on the Stu Kovacs bucket list?
I have not been to a Super Bowl, so I think that would be the obvious one to pick.
Because you got blacked out the last time you went to a Super Bowl Radio Row Week. I heard you blacked out so hard that you needed to sell your ticket to the game.
That's right. But yeah, that'd probably be my pick of something to go to that's unique and fun.
And I'm actually very much looking forward to going to this game tomorrow, because last year, right, I've been coming to these Radio Rows for years, but since I'm a Heisman Trophy voter, I always try to get back to the Heisman. And last year, Stu had such a blast at the Army-Navy game. That was at that dump, right?
Yes.
FedEx Field?
FedEx or whatever it's called now. I think it's called something else now, but yes, that is an interesting stadium, I'll say that.
So we'll be cool tomorrow to see all the pageantry of Army versus Navy at M&T Bank Stadium, which I'm looking
right there.
Right out of the corner of my eye. You see that, and then you see Camden Yards, where Pete Alonso was introduced earlier today. So enjoy the weekend, everybody. Appreciate everyone from USA for making this possible. Zach Gelb here with you on the Infinity Sports Network. Big thanks to Jack and Samter back in the studio. Stu Kovacs on location. And I'd like to thank RG3, Chris Doering, Agar, Brian Jones, Tim Pernetti for all joining us. Make sure you follow me Twitter and Instagram at Zach Gelb, ZACHGELB. And on TikTok at the Zach Gelb Show. We'll get you a lot of content tomorrow for Army Navy. And we'll be back on Monday right at 3 p.m. Eastern, noon Pacific time. Also Sunday for Sunday Morning Football. We out. Bye-bye. Peace.
You're in a 5-minute break. Four minutes, 30 seconds remaining. 4 minutes remaining.